Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. It's the NBA Deeper Dive, Stokastic.com NBA Deeper Dive presented by No House Advantage. I'm Dave Loughran at Lofty_D on the Twitter, joined by Adam Scherer at Ship My Money DFS. Breaking down a 6-game slate here with not a whole lot of news. We actually did the strategy show together. Wasn't a lot going on there. Now you've got the Darius Garland situation. Aside from that, though, almost every team is entirely healthy. So we'll keep an eye on Anthony Simons. Not really sure how much difference that makes. Keep an eye on Garland. Maybe some other stuff pops up, but no matter what, we got a slate to talk about. So what's going on, man?
Yeah, not a lot's changed since this morning. Got the really big Darius Garland news that we're waiting on, but this is a weird slate. Not really any value. Like you and I talked this morning about some weird ownership projections on value plays, and most of those projections have come down in the most recent update, but the guys we talked about are still relatively popular, and they're showing up in lineups I build as well. So it's a really interesting slate. Very weird for the middle of March.
Jordan, is that my side or your side with like this super blurry image video? What's that? Oh, now it looks good. Now we're good. All right. Looks like we're back in business. Well, anyway, happy to have you guys with us. 6 games, going to be fun. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so yet. You know the drill. Atone for your sins. Wash yourselves clean of that stench. And bow down before the YouTube overlords. Helps us greatly. Subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. Help us eventually get to 100K. That'd be awesome. I made a huge mistake today, Adam. I went out. I didn't eat till like noon, which is normal, 12, 1, whatever. And I go out to lunch with Justine, and empty stomach, grab an IPA with my lunch. And it was like the certain type. It's called a Sherman Street. They're very good, but I didn't know. She's like, we don't have this one. We have the other one. And on the wall, it didn't have the ABV. And I looked afterwards and it was like 9.2. And I crushed that on an empty stomach and then ate a full meal. I came home and napped for 2.5 hours in the middle of the afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to drink a lot during the day for it to make you tired.
On an empty stomach, though, that's the thing. Like, and then eat a big meal on top of that. Oh, plus I told Jordan, when you eat something like a huge meal or have a beer with it midday and then you take a nap, you wake up 100 times more tired than you were before you took that nap.
Oh, 100%.
Like, I'm more tired than I was when I laid down and passed out for several hours on the couch, but we're good. We're good. We'll make it through this one. Get some energy. I'll rely on you. If there's anyone we can rely on to bring real energy, it's Adam Scherer to a show.
Absolutely.
So let's make it happen. How you feeling, dude? Feeling all right?
Yeah, good. I didn't drink today because I had a job to do, and I'm not an asshole that's going to just go drink before my shows.
Pull the clip, Jordan. Pull the clip. Pull the burp clip. Oh, yeah, that's true. I wouldn't really say I drank. Like, to me, drinking and having a beer is big difference.
Well, yeah, but if you drink enough alcohol that it puts you to sleep, I count it as drinking.
I'd like to say it was the food. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Whatever. Everything you just said is verifiably false. Let's talk about some basketball today. One more time. Hit the thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Show some love around here. So Darius Garland questionable. We'll get into, I think we're going to dive deep into that because we're going to talk quite a bit about old Ricky Rubio here as well. That should be fun. But when you look at this slate right now, there's a lot of ownership going to, as Ben would say, pseudo value plays. Like, some of these value plays are guys that on normal slates, even with a scintilla of value, you're not getting 25% Reggie Jackson, and almost 20% Nickeil Alexander-Walker, but that's the way this slate breaks down right now.
Yeah, and I mean the overarching idea from a roster construction standpoint is still pretty much intact from what we talked about this morning, where I think it becomes really interesting in tournaments. Like, if you want to get a good amount of Embiid and Jokic and Anthony Davis and those guys, right now what you're being given is Reggie Jackson, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Denny Avdia, just shitty value plays like that. Guys that you're expecting to play like 20 to 24 minutes. They project for, 18 to 22 DraftKings points. But the other approach you could take is to just go more balanced. You're going to lose out on getting to a lot of those top end guys, and you're in trouble if, any of them go for 70 plus fantasy points. But you end up being a little bit contrarian by default by building more balance. So it does just create a really interesting, dynamic in terms of roster construction.
It really does. This is the greatest comment I've ever seen. Adam brings the energy of a 300-page history book, just as informative, though. I mean, that's a really good comment and informative. John says, plus Adam could probably handle one beer. It's not that. I'd lap Adam, by the way, but it's not that. It's the fact that it was empty stomach plus food. I was tired. I didn't crash on the way home. I'll tell you that much.
That's good. Or you don't remember, or you definitely
didn't. Like Wolf of Wall Street.
Crawling,
you know what I'm referring to,
door.
right? What?
Crawling to the front door.
Yeah, but then he thinks he gets home like without a scratch, and then goes outside when they cuff him, and his car is just a mangled mess. Yeah. That'd be good. I should look out the window right now. No, I wasn't even driving. But hey, let's get into this. Atlanta and Washington. Same matchup the other day. I mentioned you on the strategy show this morning that you just decided to pull up. You just decided to pull up the Trae Young pick and roll stats and Washington points per possession allowed against the pick and roll. And Trae Young just so happens to be one of the best highest frequency pick and roll players in the league. Washington terrible against roll men. Again, that's only one small area of all of this. But it is interesting because he was insanely efficient last game. He didn't even shoot a lot. He was 11 for 14, 50 plus fantasy points. John Collins at $4,200 is getting some ownership because he's dirt cheap. DeJounte Murray, relatively popular at a mid-range price point. There's a lot on both sides of this game that we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, this is it's just a weird slate also where there's a couple of games that are really appealing, other games that aren't. This one is one of the more appealing though. Trae Young in a good matchup, like you were saying. We talked about it the other day when these two teams played, and it's a weak pick and roll defense. You have a very high upside option in Trae Young. He's pulling 18% ownership right now. I don't have any problem with that. I'm not getting to much of him, but that's a situation where I think it has more to do with right now I'm not playing these really popular value plays. I wouldn't be surprised at all if by lock I have more Trae Young. He clearly looks like a good play. He's in a good spot. The price tag came back up a little bit. If you had to point to one negative for him, it would be that with Quinn Snyder there, you've typically been getting 33, 34 minutes. We haven't seen any of those, 36, 37 minute Trae Young games, but you're only talking about 5 games too. It wouldn't be shocking to anybody if he just goes out there and plays more minutes tonight. So certainly like him overall.
Me too. And the Collins one is weird because he's cheap, but you had mentioned too, under Quinn Snyder, there is a lot of uncertainty here, right? You look at John Collins' minutes under Quinn Snyder since the coaching change. He played 29 minutes last game. What wasn't it you that said this morning that? Oh no, that was Bogdanovich. We'll get there in a second. But 29 minutes for Collins last game. But prior to that, his minutes have been all over the place.
Yeah, it's nice on the one hand because when you get cheap players and their playing time is kind of determined by how they play, it's pretty appealing in DFS because if John Collins goes out there and plays like shit for 22 minutes, you're probably not winning with him anyway. So it doesn't matter that he spends the rest of the game on the bench. If he goes out there and actually knocks down some threes, he can get more minutes and end up being a good play. The concern I have here, though, is that he's pulling 20% ownership, and you're talking about somebody whose playing time is extremely volatile. You've gotten 26 minutes and 29 minutes. Those are both fine at 4,200. But in the other 3 games he's played with Snyder, you've seen Sadiq Bey play more. You've seen Collins, not get those closing minutes. So he's the type of player right now where when he's low owned, I like getting there. When he's popular, I'm not getting that much. And that's the situation right now, too. Again, take this with a grain of salt to some extent because ownership's going to change between now and lock. We're going to get news somewhere between now and lock. But right now I'd be getting 6% Collins at 20% owned. And that's in theory how I'd want to play it just because, again, there's there's no guarantee he plays 29 minutes or anything close to it today. Just because we're starving for value on this slate doesn't make John Collins more likely to play more than like 22 to 24 minutes. It's going to be entirely dependent on if he's able to shoot well and play well. And that's something he hasn't done for most of the year.
I know. And that's now a point where you go, all right, does 21% ownership make sense there? And I guess that's the question. Like Bogdanovich is another one. He's 12% owned. What can we reliably expect from him from a playing time perspective today?
From Collins?
No, I'm saying Bogdanovich being another one of those guys that's also inexpensive, getting a little bit of ownership, shooting guard, small forward eligibility, pretty decent matchup, but there's still a lot of uncertainty there as well.
Yeah, he's similar to Collins. The one thing that makes me a little bit more hesitant on Bogdanovich than Collins is we saw Bogdanovich play well last game also, and he still didn't find his way into the closing lineup. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean he's never going to close. Like, if he plays well and Collins plays poorly, maybe you see Bogdanovich in the closing lineup instead of Collins with Hunter moving down a position. That's certainly a way that they can go. But at least when Collins played really well last game, you saw him get more minutes, whereas Bogdanovich still played 24 and a half minutes. So I think Bogdanovich is fine at 4,500, but the ownership is also there. And, I think he's a risky play here as well.
Anybody else you want to hit on from Atlanta?
I'm actually getting to the centers a lot, which
really
I'm not very confident. You have Capella at 6,500. You have Okongwu at 4K. They're going to combine for 48 minutes. On average, you're getting like 27 to 28 from Capella. You're getting like 20 to 21 from Okongwu. The thing that stands out right now, though, and like I was saying, this could easily change between now and lock, but you have ownership coming into Collins and Bogdanovich, two guys that are certainly risky plays and have decent ceilings, but you don't know exactly how the minutes are going to break down. You don't have any ownership coming into Capella and Okongwu. They are center only, so the opportunity cost is higher. But I like the idea of using Okongwu at 4K for some value where he's getting less ownership. He's at least if he does well, you're not in the same situation as like everybody else that went to mediocre value plays. Capella, if he plays 30 plus minutes, he's in a good spot. It's just a matter of his playing time is so volatile, but he's a good point per minute guy, just not getting any ownership. I'm actually getting to a decent amount of those two.
Let's talk about the other side of this one with Washington then. So Beal, Porzingis, Kuzma, we also talked about it this morning. All of them have been coexisting nicely. It's not like you're going to get three big games from all of them every single time, but there's a lot to choose from here. I mean, Bradley Beal, 8,400 on DraftKings. I'm still a little bit surprised by the Avdia ownership though, 19%. I mean, it is lower than it was earlier, so I guess 19% makes a little bit more sense. In your initial runs, are you getting similar ownership to what we have the field at on Avdia right now?
One other thing to mention on Atlanta that I forgot, I'd be overweight on DeAndre Hunter right now as well, just because he's getting less ownership than Collins and Bogdanovich. But as far as Avdia goes, yeah, I'm not getting to much of him either, getting around like 6%. Looking at a lot of the exposures that I would have if the slate started right now, I'm just not getting as much of the field on the very, very questionable value plays. I'm still getting some, but just not that much. And Avdia is another one where, on the one hand, I do expect a very tight rotation from Washington here. They are the 10 seed right now. They spoke before. Well, they played essentially an 8-man rotation on the second half of a back-to-back last game against Atlanta. Taj Gibson played 4 minutes. He was the 9th guy. They talked about really needing to get that game. They didn't get it. Talked about how disappointing it was to not get that win. Now you're playing Atlanta again, who I believe is like 2 games up on Washington. I expect another tight rotation here. So on the one hand, that means you could get plenty of minutes from Avdia, but you have a lot of competition for spots in that closing lineup. Recently, you've seen Corey Kispert in there. You know that Kuzma, Porzingis, and Beal are going to be closing in a competitive game as long as none of them have fouled out. So you basically have 2 spots available for Gafford, Kispert, Wright, Morris, Avdia, assuming, nothing really crazy in the rotation happens. So it could be Avdia, but typically it's not. And if you expect 22 to 24 minutes from him, he looks okay, but just not like somebody that I really want to be playing if 1/5 of the field is there.
Right. Yeah, and you're looking, since the beginning of this month, Beal leads the team with a 33% usage rate. Kuzma's at 28, Porzingis at 27, but he does a whole lot in the way of peripherals. What do you make of the big 3 today? And even just looking at them recently, pulling it back only like 5 games or so, because we have seen, all of them kind of take off to some extent. Porzingis 1.34 DraftKings points per minute, Beal's at 1.1, Kuzma 1.07. All of them have some value in a spot like this against a, less than stellar Hawks defense.
Yeah, I like getting to the actual good players on Washington. Bradley Beal's the only one pulling north of 20% ownership. I'm not getting as much of him, but he still looks good at 8,400. Part of the appeal of the condensed rotation I was talking about is that you can expect a lot of minutes from these guys. I think on average, you're getting around 36 minutes from all three of Beal, Kuzma, and Porzingis. And so like Beal looks fine, but I'm getting a ton of Porzingis. I'm like 2x the field on him right now. He's a 1.3 fantasy point per minute guy when Beal and Kuzma play. He's averaged about 36 minutes per game over his last 5. You saw 37.5 last game when he set a career high with 43 points. I like going right back to that. I'm getting pretty much double the field on Kuzma, who I expect to play big minutes again at 7,800. We do need to see the starting lineup here. We had DeLon Wright start last game. He played about 31.5 minutes. Monte Morris played like 16.5 off the bench. If DeLon Wright is starting again, I would expect around 30 minutes, maybe like 28, with the rest going to Morris. They'll probably sooner or later play a few minutes alongside each other as well. Assuming that Wright starts, I went 30 on Wright, 22 on Morris, so 4 minutes alongside each other. But if that's the case, I think 4% is too low on DeLon Wright. So I'd be getting a lot more of him at 5,400 if the ownership stays there. I do like the Wizards. I just don't like the ones that are actually getting the ownership quite as much.
Right. Yeah, it feels that way. Jordan, you doing okay over there?
Yeah, was that what you were laughing at?
Yeah. Okay. No, I just thought you saw all the comments about a lag in chat and started to panic. I don't know. My guess is that's not on our end this time. Who knows? I don't know. It seems, but maybe there was a brief lag. I think it might have buffered for a second, but it looks fine to me. Quality looks perfectly fine to me. Yeah, I think we're okay. And your old pal Emac trying to get people to stop watching the deeper dive to read his article. I'm not sure how I feel about that, Emac. Now, I will say it's the best performing article over at Stokastic.com. It's free every day, and you should definitely check it out. But, I mean, don't click out of the stream to do so. At least multitask here. But I'm with you. I'm with you as far as the ownership goes here. Then let me close it out with this. If you were to prioritize this team, how would you do it? Like from top down, 1 through 4, basically.
So in terms of what I'm getting, Porzingis 1, right now Wright's 2, but again, that piece, I'm not very confident I still end up getting a ton of him. I wouldn't mind if that came down a little bit, but I do fully expect to get a lot of Porzingis, a lot of Kuzma. I'll be getting to Beal, just if he's 24%, probably not quite that much. And then Avdia's fine. He's just, I don't like him nearly as much as the field does. I saw somebody mention Gafford in chat. He's sort of interesting in that he's a good point per minute guy. The issue is just that he averages around 22 minutes per game when all of Washington is healthy, and you have Morris back now. You have the big 3 there. The closing lineup is typically going to be like, it's going to be the main 3 guys. It's going to be at least one of DeLon Wright and Monte Morris. Sometimes it's 2 of them. Other times you have Avdia or Kispert. Gafford's kind of like the last guy in line to get those closing minutes when this team's healthy because they prefer playing Porzingis at the 5 at the end.
All right. Portland, Philly. So Anthony Simons is questionable. Who knows how many minutes Yusuf Nurkic plays today. If Simons plays, that makes Lillard and everybody else less enticing. If he doesn't play, everyone's kind of priced where they should be, except Damian Lillard's price has come down considerably here. So if Simons ends up not being in, I know you already like Lillard, right? Like if Simons is out against Philly, what do we do with Lillard is one question. How popular do you think Lillard becomes in the event that Simons isn't able to get back on the floor tonight?
I still don't think he becomes that popular. His ownership certainly comes up from the 5% that it's at right now if Simons is out because the projection is going to come up. The reason that I don't think he's going to end up being like super popular is that you still have Embiid, you still have Jokic, you still have Harden, you still have a slate where we're talking about Denny Avdia and Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Reggie Jackson being the top value plays right now. So it's not like people are going to be jamming 2 of these pay-up guys into every lineup or anything like that. So I think he'd come up from 5%. I still don't think he would be very popular. You're probably getting like 10% or something if Simons is out.
Okay. Well, how much do you want to get to him then if Simons is out?
If Simons is out, I would like to get there certainly more than I am right now. Right now, I'm getting like 2%. It would come up just because the projection comes up. But overall, so with Simons in, I think this is the least appealing team on the slate, which is saying a lot because Miami and Cleveland are playing each other. But if Simons is in, you just have a price tag that's still relatively difficult to get to on Lillard, especially if Darius Garland plays and you're not getting any cheap value opening up from Cleveland. Jeremy Grant is correctly priced, and then Simons is just cutting into those guys' production. If Simons is out, Grant looks okay. Lillard looks okay. I wouldn't mind getting to them. You would expect more minutes from Thibault and Reddish if Simons is out, but having Nurkic back in the rotation does lower my expectation for their playing time at least a little bit, because we saw Trendon Watford get minutes at the 4 last game. They ran a 3-center rotation with Nurkic, Eubanks, and Watford, and then Watford also played some minutes at the 4. So him playing minutes at the 4 makes me think that you're getting the minutes at least are less stable for guys like Reddish and Matisse Thybulle, because I don't expect Shadon Sharp to leave the rotation. I don't expect Nas Little to leave the rotation. So I think it's likely you're just taking a little bit of a haircut on some combination of Thybulle and Reddish minutes as well.
How else do we approach this then? Let's hit it from 2 different angles. So Anthony Simons is in. Pretty much everybody doesn't look great. I think you would agree with that. Maybe you could take some shots, but if Simons is out, you've seen the price increases on guys like Cam Reddish. Matisse Thybulle, facing his former team, by the way, is at that same price point that he's been at. What do we do if Simons sits today? Are there any price points that are, and not including Lillard, obviously? Are there any spots that we want to touch on? And also, can we touch on the center rotation at all, given that Nurkic is back, but his minutes have been weird?
I don't really have interest in the centers. Nurkic played 17 minutes last game, and Chauncey Billups said before the game that they were most likely going to be overly cautious with Nurkic. So maybe he plays like 20 to 22 today, but at 6,100, I don't really see a reason to get there anyway. We have him projected for 7% ownership. Like, there's no way Yusuf Nurkic should be more popular than Clint Capella. Like, that's absolutely insane after what we saw last game. But it's not like we saw one guy get all the backup center minutes. Eubanks is cheap, but only played around 14 or 16 minutes in that game. Watford played about 10 first half minutes, played more in the second half because they kicked Eubanks out of the rotation. But on average, I'm expecting something like 20 to 22 minutes from Nurkic here, like 14 to 16 from Eubanks, 16-ish from Watford. It just makes it really unappealing to get to any of those guys.
Sotek said Thybulle revenge game tonight. Right. Instead of scoring 8, he'll score 12. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you're not wrong.
I mean, he was my highest owned guy last slate, and I hated that. And he did exactly what I was afraid he was going to do. So there's not much of a doubt in my mind that he goes nuts tonight, but I still won't be playing him.
Just a remarkably low floor on that guy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think it was Josh and I were talking about, was it you and I or Josh and I that were talking about how Matisse Thybulle's been averaging like 3/4 of a fantasy point per minute while shooting 50% from 3.
You and I were talking about it the other day. You and Josh may have talked about it too, but we had discussed it, how he went on a little run there where he was shooting, it was 51% from 3 over his first however many games with something stupid, like completely unsustainable. I don't know. You might have been you and Josh. Maybe Josh and I talked about it, but I remember discussing it and just thinking like, this house of cards is about to fall. And
it was probably you and me. I definitely remember having the conversation. I just don't remember who it was with.
It has fallen for sure. I mean, 20 minutes last game too. I know that was a blowout, but if you're not getting extended run from Matisse Thybulle, you can just, give up all hope of this working out. So Philly, Joel Embiid, James Harden, Tobias Harris, Maxi's price is wild right now. I know he's getting additional run. You had him back in the starting lineup and all that, but let's kick it off with Harden and Embiid at the top.
Happy to get there if I can. The issue right now is just that getting to them means you're playing some risky value. We do have some risky value plays that I'm getting to that the field isn't. Not that they're really any better than the ones the field is playing. They're just at least different. But Embiid, Harden both look good if you can get there. The problem is just also, Embiid's like $100 less than Jokic. You could certainly make a case for either one. I slightly prefer Jokic, but they are going to cut into each other's ownership. You have Harden like $1,000 more than Trae Young, who's pulling twice the ownership. Certainly happy to get to Harden where I can, though.
Do you like any of the kind of tertiary plays here, secondary options, Tobias, Melton, anybody else?
I'm getting way too much Tobias Harris right now.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I need that to go away. I get why it's happening. He's projected for 6% ownership. He's 5,900 small forward, power forward. I expect him to play around 34 minutes. You're just hoping that you run good on rebounding or 3-point shooting or something. But it's just, again, it comes back to, I don't like Tobias Harris here, but I don't like a lot of the other guys that are getting ownership. So at least I'm playing somebody different. But I do expect there's a pretty good chance that comes down for me between now and lock. But 6% does seem like a pretty good ownership percentage to take some shots on him at.
Yeah, he's going to get the minutes. I mean, you can reliable playing time, 34 plus minutes every night. It's just, what is his usage has got to be over the past like month and a half, past couple of months. His usage rate has got to be like 18%, 17%. I mean, it is extraordinarily low.
Yeah, I mean, even the other day when Harden was out, you got 8 field goal attempts. He's played 29 total games this year with Embiid, Harden, and Maxey all in. He has a 15.5% usage rate, 0.77 DraftKings points per minute. Like, there is nothing about Tobias Harris that makes me think he is a good play, other than he's going to get minutes. He's in a solid matchup, and he's not popular on a slate where I need some savings somewhere. And he's not dirt cheap, but 5,900 is a decent price tag there, and at least he's not popular.
No, totally understand that. Yeah, he was 2 for 8, and he just had a massive peripheral game. 14 boards,
4 steals, a block, and 14 rebounds.
Yeah, 5 huge peripheral game, 10 actual points. So, all right. Well, let's keep it moving here. Cleveland and Miami. This is where it gets interesting. Before we do though, shout out to our wonderful sponsor, No House Advantage. We've been making some money over at No House Advantage lately. Plus, you got all the tools over at Stokastic.com. No House Advantage projections, optimal lineup tools, pick'em tools, however you want to play it, got you covered. Plus, you're getting the $100 first match deposit bonus over there. There's a lot of states out there too where you can't legally bet. Places like No House Advantage make your life way easier. There's so many that when you look at like No House Advantage versus Prize Picks, there's so many benefits to both of them. One, if you're in non-legal betting states. 2, if you're doing the pick'em format, it's like, all right, on Prize Picks, if you hit 5, you 10x. But if you hit 4, you still 2x. On No House Advantage, if you hit 4, you're not getting anything, but you're 21xing if you hit 5. So a lot of people love that massive bonus right there, where you're getting 21x on 5 picks, and the multiplier is huge. The props, I've looked around, and underdogs pick 'em is sweet, but it's pretty sharp in many ways. Like they'll take a rebound prop that's 8.5 with heavy juice to the over, and they won't just give you 8.5. They'll make it 9. Over at No House Advantage, because with these pick'em props, it's just the over or the under. There's no juice. You're putting them into that lineup, and you could do 2, 3, 4, or 5 if you're trying the 21x. And if you're looking at these, you can get some on No House Advantage. Our tools do all the work for you, that are like -135, -140 in spots, and you're just getting the over on an over that's massively juiced everywhere else. So there's real edges if you play it that way. There's no question about that. It's a lot of fun, particularly to sweat together. I know I throw the cards out there on Twitter. We sweat those together. Josh has been doing the same thing, Greg and Ben and Eric and all of that. And it's been a blast. You're getting a $100 first match deposit bonus, up to $100, 100%. So if you deposit 100, your account balance is going to say 200. You throw 50 in, it's going to say 100. Hell, throw $10 in, still going to get 20 out of that. So check it out. Plus, you also have the other format where you play against the field. Our tools for that over at Stokastic. We're literally giving you the win rate on all of that, the projected win rate on everything to do the work for you. It cuts the time, and not only in half, it's like 10% of the work you would normally have to do if you're going into a slate like this. So yeah, check it out, whether it's pick'em or whether it's playing against the field for cash prizes up top, and a million different ways to do it. Awesome way to get involved in some, it's not betting, but to scratch that itch and win a whole lot of money. Go 5x, 21x. Plus, you hit one of those, you're just right. You could lose for 10 straight days, 15 straight days, and you're still in the black. So check it out. Link is in the description. Link is in chat. Come sweat some stuff with us here. We'll have some fun. No House Advantage sponsor the deeper dive. All right, let's get into let's get into this Cleveland side. Garland didn't go through shoot around. That would be interesting because Donovan Mitchell has a 34% usage rate, 34% assist rate without him. I think it's like 1.39 DraftKings points per minute. But I want you to cover both of these because you and I, before the show started, got into this a little bit. Rubio played over 22 minutes last game. We're good. Rubio played over 22 minutes last game, and he had 2 stints that were like 11 and a half minutes each. We know that Mitchell is a great play if Garland's out. We know that Rubio is a good play if Garland's out. Is Rubio a viable play even if Garland is in today, given some of the ownership we're seeing the guys like Reggie Jackson and Nickeil Alexander-Walker?
As long as the ownership on Rubio stays low, I think the answer is yes. I have no idea how many minutes to expect from Rubio, but the last game was really interesting. So 2 games ago, he played 7 minutes, and obviously that's the downside. But last game, you got to combine 95 and a half minutes from Ricky Rubio, Donovan Mitchell, and Darius Garland. So if they are going to run a rotation where those guys are playing all of the minutes at point guard and shooting guard, and then Karis LeVert is getting minutes at the 3, they didn't play Dean Wade last game. Lamar Stevens played. Chetty Osman didn't play. So there were some weird things about the rotation last game. But if they run that rotation again, you're getting, 20 to 22 minutes from Rubio, which makes him not great, but just as good or bad, however you want to word it, as Reggie Jackson and Nickeil Alexander-Walker at a fraction of the ownership. The downside, obviously, is that he could just, play like 12 minutes and you're in trouble. But the way they ran that rotation last game is really interesting. If Garland's out, then I certainly expect there to be enough minutes for Rubio to look good. If they were to start Howell Neto, then you get the weird split between him and Rubio. But don't know what the starting lineup would look like if Garland's out, but it's certainly going to make, if he's out, Mitchell will look better, LeVert will look better, Rubio will look better. The starting lineup will determine, exactly how much better those guys look.
So how about this, man? Number 1, Anthony Simons is starting. The
All
Bears,
right, so mostly ignoring Portland.
Yeah, the Bears. I still think some Dame could be in. Are you?
Dame's fine. I'm just not really getting it.
Right. So the Bears just traded the number 1 pick. I know it's a basketball show, but this is
to Carolina. Where was Carolina picking?
Because if they fuck this up, like with the haul that they're getting, Carolina was 9. So they got the number 9, the number 61 pick, a first round pick in 2024, a second in 2025. And they got DJ Moore.
Oh, wow.
I mean, they needed a receiver badly. That's it. That's interesting, right? Justin Fields, the DJ Moore now. They could.
Can DJ Moore just go somewhere with a quarterback?
I know, but Fields. Listen, you can't. I don't think you give up on Fields.
No, I'm with you. The ceiling is there for Fields. I certainly would rather have DJ Moore with Fields than DJ Moore with
Sam Darnold or Baker Mayfield.
Whatever's in Carolina.
Yeah. At least Fields is willing to air it out at times. I don't know. I think that's great for the Bears. You hold on to Justin Fields, you get the number 1 pick, and then you make some real moves here. I still don't know why they traded their own second for Chase Claypool, though. That was the most insane thing I've ever seen. No, right? You traded for Chase Claypool was a 2nd-round pick, didn't live up to being a 2nd-round pick, and then you trade a 2nd-round pick to get him, and he did nothing. But yeah, I like that for the Bears. I really do. I think that looks real good. Grabbing DJ Moore in that trade's got to feel, if you're a Bears fan right now, I think you should feel very good. Don't you too, Adam?
No.
Why?
Because it's the Bears and they're going to screw it up.
Right, but that's not how it works. It's like you have to at least feel good until the season starts and everything collapses.
Sure. Yeah. I mean? I just know how it is as a Washington fan. Like if Washington made a trade like this, it would be like, oh, cool. That all sounds really good, except for we're going to do a bunch of dumb shit and it's not going to work.
Yeah, except for it's Washington. I got you. But I'm saying like as it happens, like in the moment right now, if you're a Bears fan, you should at least be going, oh, I feel pretty okay about that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And then they'll draft like a 30-year-old with the 1st or the 9th pick. Draft another Bayless. Whatever. All right. Let's get back to basketball here. The backcourt situation, just pay attention. 8 o'clock tip for this one. We got live before lock coming up after this with Greg and Neil Orfield. So they'll carry you up and through lock as well. But I guess with Cleveland right now, I can toss it to you in 2 different ways. With Cleveland, the way it's currently situated, if Darius Garland plays, again, didn't go through shoot around, late add to the injury report. Usually that doesn't bode well for their status. If he plays, how do you approach the Cleveland Cavs in a game with a total that's come down even further at 212 right now?
Yeah, if he does play, it's just a team full of contrarian tournament plays where nobody here is really getting much ownership. Jared Allen's pulling 11% on DraftKings. Levert's pulling 12. Everybody else is less than that. Ricky Rubio's next at 6%. So getting to, 4 or 5% Garland, 4 or 5% Mitchell, Mobley, like those are all fine. They're just pieces where in a given lineup, maybe you have some of these popular chalk pieces or popular mid-range pieces, whatever it may be. They're good ways to offset ownership because they are still really good players. They do still have really high ceilings. They just don't project quite as well as players around them. But, like if you were to give me 5-1 odds on Trae Young versus Donovan Mitchell at basically the same price point, you're taking that all day on Mitchell. It's just, that's not how you build lineups overall, but it does tell you that that's a potential spot if you need to save ownership in a given lineup that you can go to. So I like those guys in that way, but they wouldn't stand out as priorities. I do like the $6,200 price tag on Jared Allen. He averages around 32 minutes per game. That price tag's come down a little. Evan Mobley's the backup center now, so his production's come up a bit, but so has his price tag. So there's nobody I'm getting crazy amounts of, but I do like them as ways to just differentiate your tournament lineups.
By the way, someone said the Bears fleeced the Panthers. I don't look at it that way. Like if you have a chance to get, I promise I'll get off football, but if you have a chance to get the number 1 overall pick and a quarterback for the future of your organization, a lot of times everything else kind of irons itself out, Adam.
Yeah, but the big question is that quarterback in this draft?
We don't know, but sometimes you have to take those chances.
Sure, but also sometimes that's how you really set yourself back because now you have no picks and you still don't have a quarterback.
No question. But I'm saying it's either you set yourself back or you just stay terrible for a long time anyway. So,
or you wait till next year when there's actual quarterbacks.
There's good quarterbacks this year.
Who?
Have you looked at the quarterback draft class this year?
Yep, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud.
You don't think either of them can be good in the NFL?
They can. I think they all have pretty big question marks.
Sure. I think everybody does.
I mean, but there's no clear-cut stud QB. This isn't like the Andrew Luck. Like this guy is going to be a monster. This isn't Trevor Lawrence. This isn't.
Yeah, but okay, but think about this for a second. In 20, Zach Wilson was supposed to be a surefire thing too.
No, he wasn't. People thought they reached on him.
Second?
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know. I mean, he wasn't expected to be out of the league.
He was supposed to be better than.
I guess it depends on where you're looking. And I guess it depends on how we classify Trevor Lawrence as well. Is Trevor Lawrence the guy? Because he was supposed to be a surefire thing.
Right. And he's seems to
good.
Be. Yeah,
he's
seems
good.
to be
I don't
going
know how
that way.
good. Yeah. You're saying there's no Joe Burrows out there, right?
Right. Now. This to me is more like trading up for Jared Goff, Carson Wentz. Sure, they can end up being fine, but they're gonna bust a lot. But it also depends what the Panthers' evaluation is. If they love CJ Stroud or they love Bryce Young, then
it's worth
whatever, go for it. Yeah. But if it's we need a quarterback and we're gonna move up to 1 and hope that we hit somebody, that to me is giving up too much.
And you're right. Zach Wilson wasn't. It was, I think that he was so bad that now in my head, it's this guy was a 2nd overall pick that was just as bad as you could possibly get at quarterback.
Right.
Miami, Kevin Love, Max Strus, Victor Oladipo. Those are the 3 highest owned guys today. Kevin Love, Max Strus, Victor Oladipo for the Miami Heat.
Yeah, that's crazy, but also makes some sense. I'm getting to Love at 4,400, 11% ownership. I don't feel good about it, but he's getting less ownership right now than Avdia. He's getting less ownership than some of these other pretty questionable plays. And so I'm just saving some ownership there. I expect around 22 minutes from him, a little below a fantasy point per minute. Again, not an exciting play, but at least he's getting a little bit less ownership than some other guys that I think are very similar plays. Oladipo, same kind of thing. He's 4,700. He's played north of 30 minutes the last couple of games. He's been in the closing lineup. So I don't mind getting a little bit of him, but I don't want to go too crazy with it. Strus at 3,400, probably playing around 22 minutes. I get it. I think the ownership's probably a little bit high there. Caleb Martin's been closing games, but his salary is also pretty expensive. So I'm getting to Love. I'm getting to Oladipo. I'm not really getting to Strus, but I do understand why people would take a shot there.
Okay. Brooklyn, Minnesota. So the Brooklyn Nets right now, Dinwiddie Man, we have Daron Sharp at 17% at minimum
That's
salary.
not that's not happening.
Can't be, right? Like,
He's not. He shouldn't be projected to play.
that's what I was going to say. There's a possibility that it's just all Nerlens Noel backing up Nick Claxton.
That's what they did last game.
Yeah.
The last game that
Before
Claxton,
everybody was
that
out.
they were all in. Yeah.
Yeah. Ben Simmons is the only one out. Everybody else is back today. What do you think of guys like Claxton at that price point against Minnesota?
I think he looks okay. The price point's probably about where it should be. You're getting 27, 28 minutes from him. This is another spot where, like, I like Claxton. I don't think he should be getting 4 times the ownership of Clint Capella. So I'm just turning a good amount of Claxton into Capella. But, he's clearly a high upside play as well. If you are playing balanced lineups, Claxton's the kind of guy you like getting to as well because he does give you a high ceiling.
You like Dinwiddie today too?
Yeah, I was surprised I wasn't getting more of him. He's somebody I could certainly see myself having more of by the time we get to lock, but I expect around 33 minutes or so from him at 7,300. Decent price tag, just a useful piece if you are building a little bit more balanced. He's pulling 18% ownership. That's probably about where he should be as well.
Then how else do you want to? How else do you want to approach the Nets today? Because you have 5 of them pulling 15+% ownership.
Yeah, I think that Cam Johnson, Royce O'Neal are the pieces I probably get to the most because they are forwards. They do offer some value. I expect 28 to 30 minutes from Cam Johnson at 6K. Makes him look decent. Royce O'Neal's been playing big minutes off the bench. He's averaged about 28 minutes per game over his last 5. He's top 30 minutes a couple of times. Obviously, he's not a very good point per minute guy, but only 3,800 makes him look like a pretty decent value. So those are the 2 that I'm getting to the most right now, and I expect that to continue just because of their pricing and positions. But I think Dinwiddie, Claxton, Bridges are all good plays as well. The only thing showing up right now in Boom Bust that I absolutely do not agree with is Daron Sharp.
Right. Yeah. There's no way. There's no way that sticks around. I can't. I don't know. On the other side of this one, though, looking at Minnesota, we've got the Timberwolves at home, 4.5 point favorites. This game has a 232 total. Optimal percentages on a lot of these guys are okay in our boom bust tool. Kyle Anderson at 17%, Gobert at 16%, Edwards 15.5%. Nice little positive leverage on Edwards. Plus, I get that. He's expensive, but he has the ceiling. He also has a pretty low floor because if he's not shooting well, things can go south quickly. I mean, that intrigues me at least a little bit, just knowing that he's got 16% optimal percentage, 12% ownership. But ultimately, the most ownership on this team is going to Rudy Gobert at 21%.
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with the Gobert ownership. He's been much more productive with Mike Conley, which we expected. The downside for Gobert is that the minutes haven't been there. You're getting like 28 to 30 minutes from him on average. You're just not seeing those 35, 36-minute games that you were earlier in the year because Naz Reid has just pretty clearly carved out a sizable role as the backup, and it's just limiting how much they play Gobert in addition to, your occasional blowout, foul trouble, whatever it may be. But Gobert has seen a 3.5% bump in usage in the games he's played with Mike Conley compared to D'Angelo Russell. The point per minute production has gone up from about 1.1 to 1.25 fantasy points per minute in those games. So certainly a high upside play here, probably going a little bit over owned, but still somebody I want to get to. Kyle Anderson's showing up a ton for me. I don't feel great. It's another one where I don't feel great about it, but that price range is just really useful in my builds. That's why I'm getting Tobias Harris. That's why I'm getting Anderson. That's why I'm getting Cameron Johnson. All these guys in that price range are just allowing me to get the other stuff I want to get elsewhere in my lineups. And I don't think Ford's a very strong position today. So those guys are showing up. I'm getting to some Naz Reid as just a contrarian tournament play. It's another one where he's 4,800. He's not playing any minutes outside of when Rudy Gobert is not on the floor, but he is a very good point per minute guy. And I just don't think there's that big of a difference in projection between somebody like Naz Reid and somebody like Denny Avdia, where, Avdia projects for a handful more minutes, but he's nowhere near the point per minute guy that Reid is. So I think that they're similar. I'm certainly not playing him in the same lineup as Gobert, but that's somebody that with the way the slate looks right now, I'm fine just gambling on and hoping to run good.
Do you have priorities from, is Gobert a priority? Is Edwards someone you want to get over the field on, or you'd be fine kind of getting around the field at that 12%?
If the slate started right now, the guy that I would say is a priority for me from Minnesota is Kyle Anderson. Again, just the price tag, the position. He's showing up a ton. Naz Reid, I'm actually getting more Reid than Gobert, but again, that's something where I would certainly prefer to be getting more Gobert. I like Gobert as a play. Anderson is just like the most useful to me in terms of position, salary. Nickeil Alexander-Walker's fine as a value. He should play around 20 minutes here. He's cheap. He's pulling like 20% ownership, which is probably a little bit higher than it should be. But from a value standpoint, he's, you kind of just have to take what you're given. And he's one of the cheaper guards that is at least playable today. So I get why he's getting ownership, but, also very easy for that to go poorly.
All right. Let's keep this one moving then. We got 2 games to go. And by the way, live before lock, Greg Ehrenberg coming up next. He'll be with Neil Orfield. They're taking you into the weekend here. Jordan, are they going through lock? Do we got the post show, or are we just going? We do? Okay. Yeah, 7:30. So stick around after lock. Sweat with the boys. All right. So, by the way, that Malik Monk, De'Aaron Fox clip you sent me was amazing.
Oh, yeah, it was great.
So good. Just his reaction when he realized he said it, and Fox's reaction when he realized, and then everyone in the media started cracking up as well. That was so good. All right. We've had some good NBA media the past couple days, huh? Like with
it's been great. As bad as DFS slates have gone, the NBA clips have been that good.
What you had Van Vliet, that was amazing. You had Draymond Green, that was equally amazing. And then the Monk Fox thing was great as well. There's been a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, it's been good.
All right. Talk about Denver, San Antonio. By the way, you guys want to jump in on the lineup generator? You've seen the comments in chat. You've seen the screenshots and Stokastic being like, yo, use the lineup generator. Took down actually, matter of fact, somebody just DM'd me yesterday about that. And I meant to hit him back, and I don't think I did. But he definitely he hit me up yesterday. It was with a beautiful screenshot, big win, saying all thanks to the lineup generator. That was a little NBA action. Then asked if we were going to have it for MLB. I don't know if we're going to have it for MLB. That'll be a little tougher just because of like the stacking. I know we're working on it. I'm not sure when we'll have one, but it is $4.48 for the first week. And listen, it makes me happy to see that people have had some big wins using it. Jordan, throw it up on the screen as well, because all you're doing, you can run your lineups with the lineup generator. Use the link down below if you want to get half off, by the way. Even if you're playing $2 a day, $3 a day, $4.48 a week. I mean, why would you not try it out? Especially if you end up having a nice win and then you're sticking around because, well, you're winning with it. You're just clicking a button, generating lineups, and you're getting as many lineups as you want. You can upload them to CSV, and then throw them in the DraftKings or FanDuel. It's optimized for mobile as well. You can discard as many lineups as you want, keep and save as many lineups as you want. You can lock players. You can swap players out. You can do tournament, or you can do cash, however you want to play it. A million different variations in there. And the way this works is that all of these lineups that are generated are already the best ones that we've created, that we've run. Like, we've thrown all of the bad lineups out, and you're just getting the top of the lineups as far as the simulations go. So check it out. $4.48 a week. If you don't like it, you're down $4.48. My guess is you will, especially for those of you that have, I don't know, demanding lives. You got a busy job. You got come home to the family and dinner's not made. And I'm just kidding. But you come home and you don't have time to sift through all of the numbers and do all of the stuff that Adam might be doing every day. Lineup generators got you covered. Or if you're like, hey, I want all of the tools. I want the boom bust tool. I want the top stacks, ownership, lineup generator, because that's included, lineup builder, all of the stats. I want the Discord, you name it, not just for basketball, but for every sport. 50% off every single thing that we have, whether you want to do a week or a month, one sport, every sport, 50% off everything on the site. So you could do that. You could do 50% off the lineup generator, a little a la carte action, however you want to play. And my DMs are open too on Twitter. If you have any questions about what makes the most sense for you, hit me up and I'm happy to help you out. All right, let's close this one out with the final 2 games, Denver and San Antonio. So you got the Denver Nuggets going into this one as massive home or road favorites, 12.5-point favorites, highest implied total on the slate. Reggie Jackson, no, not Jamal Murray, not Nikola Jokic, Adam, not even Aaron Gordon or Michael Porter Jr. Reggie Jackson getting 25% ownership as the highest owned player on this team today.
Yeah, I understand that from a median standpoint. Like, he projects around 6 times his salary. We don't have a ton of value. We do have guys to pay up for. We have a great matchup. He's playing around 22 minutes per game, but if this game does get out of hand, you could certainly see him get like 24, 25 minutes. I get it. Like, I think he's perfectly fine. I think he's going over owned. I'm going to some other value plays. I'm playing a little bit more balanced than the field. So I'm not getting as much of him. I am getting to the actual good players on Denver. I'm also getting KCP, which from a DFS standpoint clearly doesn't count as one of the good players, but like, there's a $1,000 price difference between Reggie Jackson and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. And Reggie Jackson is pulling 3 times the ownership. I'm just getting more KCP, expecting him to play around 32 minutes. It's a great matchup. Hopefully he runs into some steals and 3-pointers, and, just pays off his cheap price tag. So again, it's a spot where, like, I'm not in love with KCP. I don't think he's a great play. I have no like stats or anything for why I think he's going to play well, other than he's playing the Spurs. It's just an ownership thing where I think that, like, there are so many guys in this 4 to 5K range that are very similar. The ones that are just getting less ownership are showing up for me. KCP is one of them. If Reggie Jackson shows up in lineups, that's fine. I just have a problem playing a 25% on guy that projects for 18 DraftKings points.
Yeah. It doesn't feel great. And the Garland news could change that a lot. There's no doubt.
Sure.
But as it stands right now, we just don't know. And by the way, yeah, shout out to Andy. Said he's on the lineup generator right now with like the celebration emojis. That's good to see. And Josh of Los Angeles, lineup generator, great for West Coast people who work. Yeah, dude. Yeah, if you're working like an 8 to 4, like a 9 to 5, or whatever it is, and you don't have time, you're on the West Coast. Exactly. Just plug it in, let it ride. Do it on the drive home. You know what I mean? Do it on the drive home in the slow lane. I'm kidding. Don't do that. All right. A couple super chats here, Adam. From DC, Adam, do you feel better about Tobias or Kyle Anderson?
Neither. I guess Kyle Anderson. But because Kyle Anderson at least does things on the floor. He's not a high usage guy, but he's more involved as a playmaker. I don't feel good about either one of them. I had just sent Josh like my highest exposed players right now with Anderson and Harris pretty close to the top, and was just like, this is going to be awful. Like, I don't feel good about either one, but if I have to choose one, I would say Anderson.
And then we had another question. Here's a good one from James. What's up, James? Best play on DraftKings utility for 3,400 or less. Let me preface it with, if Garland is out, it's going to be Rubio, but let's say Garland plays. Who would the best 3,400 or less? It's
3,400 or less. You said utility, right?
Utility, yeah. And not Rubio, because we don't know if Garland's out.
Right. I mean, it still might be Rubio.
It really might be, yeah.
I mean, like the guys that are
far and away the best if Garland's out.
The guys that are in consideration basically are Max Strus, Ricky Rubio, Thomas Bryant, like Jalen Johnson, maybe. I would say that the first guy I'd go to would probably be Rubio, even if Garland's in. But it's really just a salary range that I'm trying to avoid as much as I can.
All right.
And if you're going Bryant, obviously don't do it with Jokic.
The rest, I think Denver kind of, I don't know. It feels like Denver outside of Reggie Jackson kind of just speaks for itself in the sense of, hey, if you want to get to these guys against the Spurs with the highest implied total on the slate, you should probably just do it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good spot. Jamal Murray's ownership makes sense. We did see him play with the second unit last game. That doesn't always happen. 2 games ago, it was KCP. But when it does happen, that is very good for Murray. One other thing with this game, too, in addition to the fact that, obviously, whenever you have a 12.5 point spread, people worry about blowouts, and that's fine. But, keep in mind that typically you have to be more concerned with the team getting blown out, because if it's a blowout in the way where you just don't get fourth quarter minutes, chances are at least 1 or 2 guys on the winning team played at a much higher level than they normally do. But the other thing with Denver is their second unit is very, very, very bad. So while their starting lineup should just absolutely destroy San Antonio, there's a lot of times that they destroy who they're playing, and then the second unit just lets the other team right back into the game. It's hard for them to really run over a team because the second unit gets beat so bad.
Chris Williams, it's our Apple guy. $20 super chat. Thanks, Chris. Great show like always, guys. Thanks again, Chris. Playing showdown tonight. You're doing this to us again. Lakers, Raptors. Who are your two favorite captains for that game? I was thinking Davis, Van Vliet. Also, favorite value. Thanks for everything. Hit the like button, people. Yeah, we're 169 likes away from 500. 4 minutes to. How many people do we have in here right now? Is this even doable? Let me see. 2,300 people watching. There must be 168 people willing to take a single second and get us over 500. If so, greatly appreciated. No longer have to hang my head in shame at the failure that has been unaccomplished on this show. Adam, I don't know if you want to pull that up real quick.
I have it.
Okay. What do you think?
Favorite captains for me are Davis and Van Vliet. Same two he said. As far as value goes, I don't mind dumpster diving and just going to like a 1K Wenyen Gabriel as the backup center here, assuming he's going to get those minutes. Like there is some risk that I guess that he doesn't, but the pricing, a lot of these guys are just really unappealing with D'Angelo Russell back at their respective salaries. So like from an actual point per dollar standpoint, I think it's like Wenyen Gabriel at 1K. In terms of like real players, I think that Van Vliet and Davis are probably the best values in addition to being the highest projected guys.
Ryan Houston. Vic, can you hear me? Ryan Houston, Laffy has to have a very happy wife. He seems like a laid-back dude. Oh, dude. So nobody caught anything? Are we back? We're back. I guess everyone just missed that. Ryan Houston said Laffy must have a very happy wife. He seems like a laid-back dude. What's that? Yeah, she laughed, and a very sarcastic laugh, by the way, Ryan Houston. But laid back, sure, maybe too laid back sometimes. All right, you ready to? What are we doing with the San Antonio Spurs? Oh, we hit 500. Let's go. You guys are the greatest. You guys are great. Take notes, babe. Keep San Antonio. What do you want to do with the Spurs?
Yeah, I mean, finally a team where there's at least one play I really like, and that's Devin Vassell at 5,600. Obviously, you have an unappealing matchup against Denver. You have plenty of blowout risk, but he played 29 minutes in a blowout last game when he moved back into the starting lineup. You do have a full-strength San Antonio team, but assuming Vassell's staying in the starting lineup, and there's no reason to think he's not, and that he's playing at least 28 to 30 minutes, he's mispriced at 5,600. This is a price tag that dropped because Devin Vassell missed a bunch of time and then was coming off the bench playing limited minutes. Now you have him back to playing normal minutes, and he's mispriced. He'd be my highest owned guy if the slate starts right now. I'd be surprised if that changes. He's getting 22% ownership. I fully expect to be over that. The rest of this team is just, again, fine in tournaments. I'm getting some Trey Jones at 5,300. I expect him to play like 26 to 28 minutes. It's just a pretty cheap price tag. Sohan, Keldon Johnson, both reasonable. They do take a hit in terms of production now that Vassell is back, but they're also not getting much ownership, so I don't mind getting a little bit of them. Zach Collins is priced up. He's getting no ownership and averaging around 28 minutes per game. If you wanted to play him the same way I'm playing Capella, that would be fine. I prefer Capella just because of the matchup, but same kind of play there where it's just a center in this price range where Gobert and Claxton are dominating ownership that has a similar ceiling to those guys and isn't getting any ownership whatsoever.
Old rat. Super chat. Adam, he said he ordered Manscaped. He trusted. I trust you both that my junk will smell and feel amazing. As of now, Adam, you more stars and scrubs or balanced? And yeah, dude, I'll tell you that you're going to be very happy with that. Make sure to dig to the bottom of the box though, because there was a bunch of shit in there that I didn't even know existed until I was about to throw the box out. What more stars and scrubs are balanced right now? That's a fair question, Adam. And do you have any like specific build that you're seeing a lot of?
I'm getting to more balanced builds right now, and it's not a matter of me like greatly preferring them. It's just I don't really love any plays on this slate, other than the very obvious like pay up guys and Devin Vassell. And I am probably just going to do the opposite of what the field's projected to do. If the field's slamming in Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Reggie Jackson and Denny Avdia and guys like that so that they can get to Jokic and Davis and Embiid, I'm fine just playing more of the like Kyle Anderson, KCP, Tobias Harris, Michael Porter Jr., mid-range type guys, and then getting to more of, say, Kristaps Porzingis and Kyle Kuzma and guys like that, and just hoping that, you get those 17, 18 fantasy point games from Jackson and Alexander Walker. But if ownership were to completely change by lock and suddenly Reggie Jackson's 6% owned and Alexander Walker 6% owned, then I'll happily just be jamming in Embiid, Jokic, Davis, and playing those guys.
All right. And then quickly, Gobert or Capella? That was from my filler arc.
It kind of depends on like what you're asking. Gobert projects better. If I'm just like playing somebody head to head, I'm going Gobert over Capella. In tournaments right now, I would expect to have more Capella just because of the ownership difference.
All right. And Jordan, I saw a comment from, I think it was Noah, saying it very rude to skip his super chat. I didn't even see one. So when? I don't see any. No, I didn't see it either. If you see it, you see it. Whatever. We're up against it. If you get it to me, if you see it, or it didn't send. Anyway, Adam, Toronto 1-point favorites, 224.5 total. I'll toss this one over to you just so we can be expedient here.
Yeah, I'm good at that. This is a pretty appealing side of this game. I am getting to quite a bit of Toronto. Again, it's a situation where I'm not necessarily getting to the same guys as the field. Fred VanVleet is projected for 29% ownership right now. I think he's a good play. I don't think he's that good of a play at that ownership number, but you can expect huge minutes out of him. Good matchup, projects well, all of that. I understand why he's popular. I'm just not going to get that much of him if he does continue to be projected for 28 to 30% ownership. But again, it's just an ownership, large field tournament thing for me. He does look like a very good guard play. Pascal Siakam looks good. Jakob Poeltl looks good at 6,900, pulling about 10 to 11% ownership in that Rudy Gobert, Nick Claxton price range. I like getting to him. I'd be around 2x the field on him if the slate started right now. Pascal Siakam, again, looks fine at 8,700. He's pulling some ownership. No issues with that. Where I am getting more than the field, though, in addition to Poeltl, is Scotty Barnes, OG Anunoby. Again, not guys that I feel great about, but guys that I think are just allowing me to build lineups that look good, getting to, 36 minutes or so from Scotty Barnes at 6,700, 36 minutes or so from OG Anunoby at 6K when nobody's going there. Anunoby has struggled a bit recently, but he does still give you a decent ceiling given his playing time. So it's just another team where I'm getting to Toronto a lot. I think they're one of the more appealing teams on the slate. I'm just getting to different spots than the field right now. As far as the Lakers side, I think it's pretty much Anthony Davis or bust. He clearly looks good. His biggest issue is that he is priced in the same range now as Jokic and Embiid, only $600 or $700 less than those guys, but still about a 1.7 fantasy point per minute guy in 13 games without LeBron this year. So take whatever you can get of him. He's going to look good. We have D'Angelo Russell coming back and starting. I'm expecting you're getting something like 28 minutes from him, which makes him not that appealing at 6,900. If we get word that he's not on any sort of minutes limit, then I would certainly like him a little bit more. But you've just gotten all these guys priced up a little bit, and we don't know exactly how this rotation is going to look. But my expectation is that you're just not getting enough minutes from Russell, Schroeder, Beasley, Reeves to pay off what are now elevated price tags. Jared Vanderbilt is, always risky, but always somewhat interesting as a low-owned option because of his ability to offensive rebound, get putbacks, and just kind of give you like an out-of-nowhere double-double. But Davis is the only guy that I would feel remotely good about from that team.
Okay. Favorite plays from this game, though, 1, 2, 3. I mean, it's VanVleet, right? And then,
sort of. Like, again, it's if ownership doesn't matter, then it's VanVleet.
That's a good point. Yeah,
it's VanVleet, Siakam, Poeltl in terms of who I expect to be playing the most of in tournaments. Or I mean, from this game, it would be VanVleet. I think VanVleet, Poeltl, Davis, or Siakam, Davis, like 3 of those 4. In terms of who I expect to be getting the most of, Poeltl, Barnes, and Anunoby.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. Like in a vacuum, sure, VanVleet, but that almost 30% ownership is pretty wild right now. Hey, you guys are the best. About to get to 600 likes. Tossing this one over to Live Before Like. Stick around too. Stokastic Hall of Fame coming up in between this. Check out everyone who's getting the free month inducted into the Hall of Fame. Big wins this week. Greg Ehrenberg, Neil Orfield coming up next. Have a good weekend, everybody. Yo, it's that time of week again where we're inducting you fine people into the Stokastic Hall of Fame and giving away some monthly subscriptions to everything on our site, all of our tools right here, just by rocking the Stokastic avatar, finishing top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, and tweeting your wins to @Stokastic Hall of Fame. You're getting the free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. You're getting inducted right here. All you got to do is Go to stokastic.com/avatar. Rock that avatar wherever it is you play. Tweet your wins at Stokastic Hall of Fame, and we're in business. Just like Ryan did. How do I go about getting that free membership? Thanks for this content, guys. Congrats, man. $4,800 win right there in the fadeaway. Love to see that. Third place. And then, how about Arnold? He was on here twice last week. He's on here again this week with a much bigger win than both of those. In the 60K mini max, boom. Thanks, guys. First place in the mini max. $3,600 going to Arnold. Congrats, man. Keep that heater going. And Mitchell King was on here last week as well. Hit another one. Moved up to the $1 tournament this time. See, you just keep moving up, man. Then you get those free tools, right? You get the free month, and then you can use them wherever it is you play, no matter the stakes. $2,000 in the end one. Congrats, Mitchell. Keep that going. An ugly 8 game. We've seen him on here plenty of times. Thanks to the great content, Stokastic NBA, and timely news from, yes, the news guy, DFS. Even I can win a free month of Stokastic Platinum. Congrats, dude. And how about Gary Encarnacion? Missed first place by just 1 rebound. I'll take it. $400, second place in the NBA shop. Followed up by Samuel Johnson. Had a nice evening. Again, the mini max. And remember, doesn't matter if you're playing $1 entry, quarter, nickel, $20 entry, as long as it's top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more. That is literally all that matters. And you're rocking the Stokastic avatar. Make sure to update it too. Get that new fresh one that you see up here. Samuel Johnson, $283 in the mini max, first place. And then you have Paco, 4OU, $250. My dedication to following the Stokastic Live Before Lock shows pays off. Not a monster score, but not a bad takedown for a quarter investment. There it is. Again, $250 on a quarter. Congrats, man. And Skimmer, to wrap this one up, thanks to Greg Ehrenberg and Neil Orfield for the LBL last-minute advice for third place. Appreciate you. LFG, 4K daily dollar, third place, $125. Congrats to all of you. Remember, download the avatar. Use it wherever it is you play. Hit us up. It's Stokastic HOF and get that free month. Get inducted into the Hall of Fame. Let us do the bragging for you, and let's keep winning.
is happening, everybody? Welcome. It's another Stokastic NBA Live Before Lock Friday night. But you guys know what that means. It's myself. It's the flannel god himself, Neil Orfield, here to help us break down the NBA slate as you guys come in. Here's how you can help us. You like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, consider signing up over at NHA, the sponsor of today's show, because when you sign up in No House Advantage using the link we have below, you get up to a $100 bonus on your first deposit. And even if you are in a state that does not have legal sports betting, there's a pretty good chance that you are going to be able to bet some of the props over at No House Advantage. And Neil and I are going to be walking you through some of our favorite props using the tools that we have over at Stokastic.com. And in the post-lock show, we're going to build out a parlay card. But in the meantime, Neil, it's very important. The people need to know, how's the flannel god doing today? And I'm happy we're in flannel today. I was very upset the other day.
Yeah, I'm doing great. I apologize once again for not wearing flannel that day. I know Greg was reaming me out for like 20 minutes after the show, just really pissed about the lack of flannel. So I had to go back to my flannel. I'm doing good. The NFC North just got a little bit tougher with the Bears trading the first overall pick for a few different draft picks plus DJ Moore. I don't love that the Bears are going to be a contender. I also sort of, I'm not totally opposed to it because my brother-in-law is from Chicago. He's a big Bears fan. So then my nephews are also big Bears fans. So I kind of root for them a little bit, but don't love that they are in the Vikings division. In general, though, doing well. I don't know what to make of this slate. I really hope we get that Darius Garland news fairly soon, hopefully before lock, because that's going to affect a lot of things. But we'll figure it out.
So you root for your friends and family members to be happy?
Occasionally. Only my nephews, really.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, we're different in that sense. Like, I know for myself, like whatever Eric's a fan of, I'm rooting for the opposite side. I do not want that man happy a single second of his life.
Yeah, so, I don't have that option because he's a fan of the same teams as me.
Yeah, fair enough. You guys are both from Minnesota over there, but I'm just built different.
That's I do cheer very hard against ISU golf, though, for the record.
Fair. I didn't even know they had a golf team, and I actually have a theory. The reason Eric says that he was this high-level golfer, played in college, is because he went to a high school and a college with no golf team.
Right.
So he could just say whatever the hell he wants, and nobody's going to push back on him. Because who's going to say, if he says that he was the captain of the Division I golf team at Who Gives a Fuck University.
Right.
And if
so
there's no golf team there,
it's the exact same thing as the idea on Twitter lately is like, just tell people that you used to work at Twitter. Like if there's a gap in your resume, tell them that you worked at Twitter. You were a high level employee at Twitter. Nobody's checking that shit. Elon Musk is the HR department at Twitter right now. So same kind of idea.
It's firing people with disabilities. It's a whole to do over there on Twitter. Yeah. And we got a super chat already. Eric's Tears. Drink me, Greg. Bottoms up. Unfortunately, I wash my water bottle. I do that from time to time. And one thing that happens is if you put paper on your water bottle, it comes off. But these are still Eric's Tears. It just the labels come off. Salty as ever. Salty as ever. Thanks for the super chat, Eric's Tears. If you guys have questions in Discord, throw those in. And like Neil said, this is only a 6-game slate and really well-balanced slates this week, right? Like we've had a lot of slates where it's like 6 games, 7 games, 8 games. We haven't had like a 3-game slate. We haven't had like those 12-game slates. I've been liking the size of the slates of this week, but as a result, we don't have quite as much injury news to talk about. The one piece that you did mention there, which is very pertinent, Darius Garland is questionable. There's nobody else really on the injury report here that's of massive significance. Kinkara is questionable. He's been questionable for an extended period of time. But let's talk about what happens if Darius Garland gets ruled out and who it is that you're going to like to get to from Cleveland in that kind of scenario, because it is the one injury news that we really have to prepare ourselves for. It's a slow-paced game, 212.5, by far the lowest total on the slate, on the road against Miami, a little bit of a later start time, 8 p.m. Eastern. So what are you going to do if Darius Garland gets ruled out? Who are you going to gravitate towards, Neil?
So it's either going to be Ricky Rubio or Karis LeVert. Probably both Ricky Rubio and Karis LeVert will then get big enough bumps that they're going to be very interesting to me. I don't know. I think I would expect, do you think Rubio would start or LeVert? I'm not sure who I would anticipate starting if Darius Garland is out. Eric and I were talking about it earlier, and we landed on LeVert as the likely starter. You think that's the case?
Yeah, Ricky Rubio. So, even though Rubio is, pretty well along from coming back from the knee injury he had last year, we haven't seen him start any games this year. And if I'm not mistaken, he hasn't played more than 23 minutes is the most he's played the entire season. It kind of seems it's where Cleveland likes to keep him. And also, we've just seen so many times, if Darius Garland is out, if Donovan Mitchell is out, it's always been Karis LeVert this year that moves into the starting lineup. So I feel pretty good saying LeVert would be the starter in that scenario and very quickly becomes one of the top value, if not the top value option on the slate. Rubio would look better as well, but LeVert would be my priority there to be sure.
Okay, so you think Rubio maybe gets a slight bump, but you don't think they're playing him more than like 24 minutes anyway?
I wouldn't think so. Now,
regardless,
with that said, he's so cheap today.
Right. He looks good as is. So like any little bump is going to help.
$3,300 over on DraftKings. Ricky Rubio over on FanDuel. $4,600. $4,600 is a tougher sell for me unless he ends up starting, which I don't think he's going to, because it's still an extremely low-paced game. So I wouldn't really be all that interested in him on FanDuel. DraftKings, I would definitely be interested in 3,300 if Darius Garland doesn't end up going. Karis LeVert, on the other hand, is somebody who I would anticipate starting. He is $5,200 over on FanDuel. And we've got LeVert on DraftKings. It would help if I spelled his name
4,200.
right. 4,200. So even at the slightly higher price point over on FanDuel, I think he'd be a great play on both sites. If Darius Garland was to be ruled out and LeVert starts, he'd be the player I want to get the most exposure to of anybody going today.
I'd probably lock him in. Just we have such bad value on this slate. Like just looking through the value scores, it's like, man, I'm not confident in any of these plays. I think Karis LeVert, I would feel confident in if he ends up starting for Darius Garland. So yeah, for me, I think he would become the slam dunk of all slam dunks, just because this slate is so bad with value in general.
And for people who are wondering, because this question always comes up, Neil is the flannel god. This is not pajamas. This is a very, very prestigious Lilo and Stitch shirt. Guess how much money I paid for this, Neil?
Ooh, that shirt, that looks like at least a $200 shirt.
More. We had to fire multiple people at this company to open up the salary to me to get
You're just like
more so I
Rohan.
could pay this. Like, I'm not going to tell anybody what the value is I paid for the shirt. It's a fuck ton of money, though. It's more. It is more than most of the people here even make in a year.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense to me. That looks like the kind of shirt you would get at, oh shit, I'm blanking on the name. From I Think You Should Leave.
Gap.
The Gap. Exactly. The Gap is what I was trying to say.
Yeah. So like people wonder why Tyler isn't a producer here anymore. It's so I could afford this shirt. So yeah. Don't be calling it pajamas in the YouTube chat, people. This is a big shirt. This is very, very prime stuff.
That's what designer stuff looks like.
Super chat from our guy, Winky Christ. This is to help buy the nephews some Bulls or White Sox gear. Winky, we're friends with you on Twitter. Nobody wants to suggest, or nobody wants to subject their children to being a Chicago sports fan like yourself. No White Sox, no Bulls. LaMelo Ball's only got, they might have to amputate his leg. That's some of the inside sources I've heard. Then he got, DeRozan's passing out. Nobody.
But you're talking about Lonzo Ball, but Winky also loves LaMelo Ball.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. So Lonzo Ball, his leg. So actually what's going to happen, I've heard this is going to be true. They're going to fuse them together as a cyborg and make them into Lon's Mellow Ball. And then they'll have two operational legs. But as of right now, they each only have one working leg.
Perfect.
Thank you for the super chat, Winky.
Thank you, Winky. Good to see you. Even Winky and I disagree very strongly about who's better between Ant and LaMelo Ball. He's an Ant hater, big time. I actually like LaMelo just fine. Just Ant's better.
So for me, because my favorite player from that draft class is Tyrese Halliburton. So I go a third way.
Yeah, you're just as wrong as Winky is.
Well, who do you think's better, Halliburton or LaMelo? Because only one person could be more wrong.
Halliburton's better than Melo. Yeah,
there we
definitely
go.
Halliburton.
So you think
Winky is the wrongest.
Okay, he's the most wrong. You have me as the middle wrong, and you the most right.
Exactly.
All right. Fair enough. Some more questions coming into the super chats here. And then I'll also check our Discord channel. I just downloaded the Discord app on my Mac. So I'm curious to see if that is a little bit easier to get to than the version on my phone. So trying that out for the first time. I figured it'd be easier to just have all the information in front of me. Keeps my phone free. But first, Hannah wants to know, who are the best DK tiers plays by tier? Thanks, guys. This has become really popular. People asking us about the DK tiers.
I think both Hannah and Ace of Spade both ask the super chat every single day. They both, Ace of Spade, I see, asked it again as well. So it's nice getting the double super chat for one question.
So gonna bang this out right here. Best plays, DK tiers. Tier 1, Nikola Jokic against the San Antonio Spurs. All day, all night, Nikola Jokic. I bet him to have a triple-double tonight. Only minus 120. It's like 50-50 odds whether he's going to triple-double or not. I'm on the pro Jokic triple-doubling side today. Tier 2, there's a lot of guys that are really close. I slightly got to more of James Harden than anybody else. Trae Young being the second most prevalent option, but James Harden right above it. By the way, the other day, Trae Young looked like he was going to have an all-time slate-breaking game. And we were talking about that on the show. It was kind of ironic that it happened because I had said during the time that, when somebody gets off to a hot start and they get the steals, they're not going to fall off later in the game. And I'm not sure that Trae Young really scored many fantasy points at all past the first quarter of that game. Yeah. Do you remember another game like that this year where he scored like 30 fantasy points in the first quarter? It's like, oh, he's going to break the slate. And then that's just all he did for the entire night.
It's absurd. Yeah. By the way, who wasn't in chat? John Beerbaum points out that it's Dan Flashes is what I was going for. It's not actually a great reference because your shirt doesn't actually look like the I Think You Should Leave Dan Flashes shirts, but that is what I was going for.
I don't know what that is.
You don't know what I think you should leave as, Greg? I think you would enjoy it. It's a very funny sketch comedy show on Netflix.
I'll have to check that out then. Tier 3, I ended up with Pascal Siakam as my go-to guy. Also, I should mention, though, it becomes Donovan Mitchell in tier 3 if Darius Garland is ruled out. For now, though, the answer is Fred VanVleet, but Donovan Mitchell if Garland doesn't end up playing. Tier 4, this is a tricky one. I've got Mikal Bridges right now. There's a lot of guys here that are really, really tight. That it's tough to trust the Nets after the rotation they played yesterday, but I do think Bridges is the best looking option in that tier as of now. Tier 5, Jamal Murray, same thing as Jokic, great matchup against the Spurs. And then you're going to like this, tier 6, Rudy Gobert.
Love that.
I wasn't really sure if you'd be pro or anti Rudy Gobert at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I got to cheer for him, right? He's on my team. I'm not like cheering for him to fail. So I think it's a shitty trade, but like, I'm still going to cheer for the guy who's on my team.
More super chats that we have in here. This one is from the Thunder, the entire team. The Thunder wants to know who our top prize picks plays of the night are. So let me pull that up. I've got NHA in front of me because NHA is the sponsor, but we'll do both. In fairness to the sponsor, we'll talk about the top projected plays we have for prize picks as well as for no house advantage, but I'll pull these up right now in the interim. And then how do I get my notifications to pop up on this app? All right, that'll be a problem for me 2 minutes from now. In the meantime, though, Neil, do you have the projections pulled up for prize picks in front of you?
I do not have them pulled up, but I could in moments.
Oh, good. Yeah, it's loading for me right now. My computer's been running really slow today. Before, I was trying to upload my lineups, and I was having all kinds of issues uploading stuff. My computer doesn't like me today. It wanted absolutely nothing to do. Wanted absolutely nothing to do with me. But all right, we stalled for enough time. Here we go. So the top projected play we have right now for prize picks is Donovan Mitchell under assist. I would avoid that for now, just because of the Garland situation. If Garland plays, Donovan Mitchell under 4 assists would look quite good. For now, though, I would be avoiding it. We have Nurkic's over rebounds projected well. Dicey one because of the injury situation, though. He didn't play very much coming back last game. I think if I had to take a side, I would take the upside of Nurkic, but that would be more like if you're betting at a traditional sports book and you're taking an alternate line, that's more where I'd want to look for Nurkic than here. I do like Cameron Johnson for over 4 rebounds. Really low total for him as far as rebounds go. And when it comes to Cam Johnson, and tell me if you agree or disagree with this, Neil, we saw really fucked up rotations from the Nets yesterday. Like, impossible to predict. Nobody could have expected what it was the Nets ended up doing. Mikal Bridges played the entire first quarter and then didn't play the rest of the game. I don't know what the point of that was.
It was
absolutely bonkers.
Yes, I hate it. So I also, yesterday was the rare day that I consumed 0 content until like literally 5 minutes before lock. I started listening to you and Eric, and then I, chatted with you guys a little bit after lock, but like I didn't listen to what was going on because I had other stuff that I had to do. So it was a very rare day, and it was a bad day to miss the content because I could have heard like about Mikal Bridges and maybe got an idea that maybe things were going to go weird with the Nets, but I did not see that coming. I thought like nobody's playing Nerlens Noel. They're all playing the backup center instead. So I played a lot of Nerlens Noel, and that team, I hated it. I hated yesterday.
But here's what I wanted to talk when it comes to Cam Johnson now. I think we could feel pretty good about his minutes after he didn't play yesterday.
Yeah, I think they're back to the regular rotation.
That's what I think as well. And Cam Johnson is 4 rebounds for him. We have him projected for nearly 5. I like the over 4. I think that makes sense. So to the Thunder's question, I think we could start off with Cam Johnson over 4 to help him with his parlay card. And then another one too. John Collins, I know he's had a shit year and he's been down. He's been disappointing, especially from a fantasy perspective. His rebound prop is all the way down to 4.5. I feel good about the over 4.5 for John Collins when we have him projected for 5.5. So the Thunder wants to know my favorite 2 prize picks props on the board. I'm going to give him John Collins and Cameron Johnson. And then the top 2 that project out for us on NHA right now are Mikal Bridges over 3.5 assists and Daniel Gafford over 8.5 points. Later on the night, Neil and I are going to build out an NHA card. They are the sponsor of today's show. If you guys want to sign up there, use the link below. Up to $100 bonus on your first deposit, or you can just sign up using the promo code Greg. That'll get the job done for you as well. But those are our top 2 NHA props as of now. The next, oh boy, Jordan just sent me a whole bunch of super chats. Just checked out the Slack messages from Jordan. So we've got here from Fantasy Guru 76, top 2 priority picks on FanDuel. So going to be a little bit of indecision until we get the news about Darius Garland. But if Garland's ruled out, LeVert would certainly be one of them. In the meantime, though, the players I got the most exposure to, you're going to like this answer. One of them is Anthony Edwards.
Ooh, I do like that answer.
Yeah, Anthony, I knew you'd like that one. The two players I got the most exposure to over on FanDuel are Ant Edwards and the aforementioned Cameron Johnson. Those are the two players that I got the most of in my builds over on FanDuel. Anything that, if you look at our FanDuel projections, the boom bust tool, anything else that really stands out to you from FanDuel that you think should be considered priority plays for our friend here, Fantasy Guru 76?
Yeah, interesting. So I'm looking at the best leverage plays on the slate. Dinwiddie kind of looks like a good leverage at just 4% ownership, 7% chance of being optimal. I don't feel like especially like confident in that. I'm curious. So I know Ship has been talking about Devin Vassell all day. I'm curious what his price tag looks like on FanDuel. Let me hang on. Charles Bassey, man, we've got 48% ownership on Charles Bassey today. That's
very popular today. He's expected to be very popular with that Spurs team and their absolute piece of shit front court. He's expected to pick up a lot of ownership over on FanDuel. And but I got to him a bunch in my builds, just relative to ownership. It's hard to say that he's a priority because my build lineups ended up coming in underweight to the field on. So like I get to a lot of them, but less than the field. It's like, does that make me consider him a priority for all intents and purposes answering the question? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I guess I'd have to reread the question. Like, is he talking about GPPs? Is he talking about cash games? He's obviously
priorities.
Yeah, clearly a cash game play, but for GPPs, I would actually say like anybody else, like for at center, like rather than Bassey, just makes a great play as a result. You know, I'm looking through Jokic only getting 6% ownership, looks pretty great, 23% chance of booming.
By the way, I should add, sorry for interrupting. Anthony Edwards and Cameron Johnson are also very, very popular on FanDuel, but I still came in overweight to the field when I was building out the lineups over there. So that's why I like, these guys are expected to be massively popular, but I still ended up being overweight to them. Whereas Bassey being a really chalk option, I ended up underweight in my build. So that was why I still answered Edwards and Cam Johnson there.
Yep. And Devin Vassell much more expensive he's 6,500 on FanDuel. So hard to really prioritize him.
Let's see what else Jordan Klein has for us here as far as super chats go. This one is from James Naismith. Let one of the balls borrow your extra leg, Greg. Hey, that could work. People don't know this. You know how they call me third leg Greg around these parts?
I do.
There's a fourth one too.
There's a fourth leg. Greg's got a tail.
Yeah. No, tripod. It's a tripod, but whatever.
I see.
You know, it's all different. It's just a big third one that sits at the bottom and sags really low.
Nice. You'll have to show it to us sometime.
Yeah. It's always, if all else fails, it's alternate career in modeling or just, you know, like starting an OnlyFans, it would do big over there. It's a possibility.
Definitely. People are into weird shit.
Fantasy Guru 76 did gift some memberships in the YouTube channel out to everybody. So shout out to Fantasy Guru 76. We appreciate that. And we appreciate all your guys' support. Mr. Cool Cam 97, top 5 plays for a FanDuel single entry. So I'd still stick with Cam Johnson and Anthony Edwards. I think those are two players you should be prioritizing there. Both really popular, but I do think that they make sense. DeLon Wright is another really popular play that also I think makes a lot of sense in large field tournaments. If I'm going for somebody who is a little bit, can we give him a little bit of a lower owned play? Who looks good in the boom bust tool, Neil, that you would recommend for a single entry on FanDuel? It doesn't have to be like totally off the board, but
yeah, I mean, looking at like KCP is getting 13% ownership, 14% chance of being optimal. 5,100 looks okay. I'm trying to find people like players who have a good chance of being optimal and a positive leverage score. There's not that many. Jimmy Butler on that list also, but he's not. We kind of need somebody cheaper, right? You're saying you want somebody that's a little bit less expensive?
No, not less expensive. Just somebody because like I've mentioned a lot of chalk plays where I think the ownership is warranted. But I mean, more so like who's somebody that's kind of contrarian here. But it doesn't have to be like a 2% owned play. I just mean not one of the most popular plays on FanDuel.
Yeah, I mean, so Anthony Simons has actually our best leverage score on the entire slate. He's coming in at just 6% ownership. He's 6,100, so it's affordable. Not many people playing him. Kind of an interesting play. There's a little bit of do you think Anthony Simons plays 30 plus minutes tonight, Greg?
Let's see.
What do we have him projected for? Because he looks good in the tools. We must have him. We've only got him
No,
projected for 29.
I don't think 30 plus is super likely. I think it's possible, but I wouldn't call it the most likely scenario. He hasn't played. By the way, he wasn't even playing that many minutes before he got hurt.
Right.
The last 2 games before he got hurt. Well, I mean, no, I know one of the games he got hurt in. And so the game he got hurt, he played 27 minutes. The game before that, he played 28. He was playing that regularly before, but I mean, it's been a long layoff now. We haven't seen him play. It's been a month since he played full minutes, and he dealt with 2 lower body injuries, which makes me think, just trying to apply some logic to this, he probably doesn't have his conditioning up to par. My guess is that he plays somewhere in the mid-20s.
Yeah, I think that's a fair guess. I will add, so we have positive leverage on all of Rubio, LeVert, and Okoro currently with Darius Garland in. So they're all looking like fine plays as is, low owned plays. Obviously, the ownership is going to come up quite a bit, but also the projections will come up quite a bit on those 3 guys. So I think those are all interesting plays on FanDuel also.
Yeah, I think that all makes sense. I mean, in general, if you kind of go light on the lighter than the field on the first couple of games of this slate, and give yourself the flexibility to prepare for the possibility of Darius Garland not playing, which I think we should talk about next before we get to more of the questions. If Darius Garland is questionable heading into lock, what are you going to do to make room in your lineups to potentially late swap should we see Garland not play?
So I'm once again. So we've talked about this a little bit before, how there's different strategies you can take with unknowns like this. On this slate, I think that I'm once again going to not necessarily force in players from the later. I mean, there's 4 games that start 8 o'clock or later, so we only have 2 games that start before that game anyway. But I'm not trying to I'm not trying to make any rule that says if I have Darius Garland, I need another player from a later game. But that's not really applicable on this slate anyway. I don't know that I want to really fade those earlier games anyway. I think what I'm just going to do is give a little boost to both Garland and Rubio. I think I'm going to build as though, Rubio and LeVert. I'm going to build as though Darius Garland is out going into it. Like, I think that's one of the better ways to find an edge is to just build accordingly, because you might get more of Dame Lillard or Joel Embiid in that case if you think that there will be good good value opening up. So playing some of those guys, I understand the logic to not playing the first games, but I think it's as likely as anybody that Embiid or Lillard are going to be those expensive pieces, the pay up pieces that you need. So I agree with you that like maybe you don't want to play the bad value from the early games. So I think that's the clarification that, or my for me, that's what I would do is fade the bad value from the early games. And the easiest way to do that, obviously, if you're using an optimizer, just give a boost to the guys who you think could become good value. But I wouldn't fade the better players from those games.
Fair enough.
That makes sense.
Yeah, no. And by the way, there are often times we talk about this and I just outright fade the early games. I'm not doing that today.
Yeah. Okay.
But at the same time, I didn't find it to be necessary because when I look at my lineups, I have a bunch of exposure to Denver right now. I think actually if I look through my lineups, Denver's the team I have the most exposure to.
Monty Morris starting, by the way. You can keep going. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, no, all good. We'll talk on that in a second. But because I have so much exposure to Denver right now, I think it allows me the flexibility to make moves on Cleveland should we see Darius Garland ruled out, right? Like, okay. I think that just because my lineups naturally get to a lot of Denver, I feel like I'm good.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, we do have Monty Morris starting, DeLon Wright coming off the bench. With that in mind, we just talked about Wright is somebody who's picking up a whole bunch of ownership on FanDuel. Where's he at on DraftKings? What's the ownership on Wright? So Wright was projected for 31% ownership on FanDuel, only 4% on DraftKings. Pretty crazy how big of an ownership gap there is between the two. I would be certainly underweight to that number on FanDuel.
Yeah, I would full fade on FanDuel most likely, just because he's not starting. He's going to have some residual ownership from people thinking that he would be starting. So I think he's maybe not a full fade, but close to a full fade for me on FanDuel. On DraftKings, still, at 4% ownership, he's not going to have any kind of residual. Maybe he picks up enough to be useful off the bench, but 5,400, I don't know, still not somebody I love. Monty Morris becomes more interesting.
And now let's go and look at the other super chats that we have here. And They've been piling up here. We got, by the way, Fantasy Guru 76 gifted out more YouTube memberships. And then after that, he gifted out even more YouTube memberships. Is Jordan Klein, is that a mistake or did he gift out all these on separate occasions? He did. Oh my God, look at this guy. Thank you for the support. We appreciate it. Guitar Man 247. Guess what he did? Do we have a competition here for giving away YouTube memberships? Guitar Man gave away 10 YouTube memberships as well. So we appreciate all you guys for the support and giving out the YouTube memberships. A lot of people here going to be popping up green now. Green names in the YouTube chat with all these memberships being gifted out. We appreciate it. James Magruder. Greg, what are your favorite plays at each position on DK? So here are my current lineups. And keep in mind, this is going to change if Garland is ruled out. Honestly, if Garland doesn't get ruled out, if he plays, I don't think too much of this is going to change for me. But at least as of now, at point guard, Jamal Murray and Fred VanVleet. Do you have lineups that you've built that are in front of you, by the way, Neil?
I haven't done anything to the projections or anything, so I just ran with 20% randomness. But I can tell you who I got in my first build without doing anything to them.
Yeah, that's and like I said, I mean, we're still waiting on the Garland news anyway. But at least as things stand right now, Murray and Fred VanVleet for me at center. At point guard. How about for yourself at point guard?
Yeah, VanVleet and Reggie Jackson.
Okay. By the way, I thought so. I was something was screwing me up here. I thought I wasn't getting notifications in Discord because I've got the desktop app going, but just nobody's added me yet. If you guys have questions, add me in Discord. It's one of the perks of being a Stokastic Plus Platinum member. You get to troll us. You get to ask us questions. You get to tell Neil how wonderful his flannels look. You get to tell Eric he's a piece of shit. There's a lot of good things that are involved with being in our Discord channel, like asking us questions. And if you guys want to sign up for a package here, sign up using the link below. You're going to get 50% off any package, get access to all of the tools we have here over at Stokastic.com, including the new NBA lineup generator, which I think Neil and I, as long as nothing crazy happens, we might have a chance to build out some lineups towards the tail end of the show and just show you where all of our projections are at and who our tools will be prioritizing the most over the course of lineups here. But anyway, point guard for me was Murray and Fred VanVleet. Shooting guard, Bradley Beal, and kind of spread out beyond that. I actually do have a good amount of Reggie Jackson, but it's just because he's not a good value option. He's just less bad than the other ones.
Yeah, exactly. We just have such bad value on this slate. For me, it's also Reggie Jackson. Again, I haven't done anything to my lineup, so these are not my final lineups at all. But I have 52% Reggie Jackson right now, just because he is one of the few playable value guys. And then Bradley Beal, number 2.
Small forward. I think Denny Avdia is a pretty solid option. Jaden McDaniels looks good. Cameron Johnson, another one. Talked about him on FanDuel. He's going to be a popular play tonight. I more or less think it's warranted, though. He should be playing big minutes today. I'm really hoping that whatever the Nets did yesterday is not going to be something that replicates itself. Small forward for you. Who are the players you're getting to the most there?
Yeah, it's Avdia, number 1, Kyle Anderson, number 2.
And then at power forward, it's the same guys. A lot of the players with small forward eligibility also have power forward eligibility. So, by the way, Kyle Anderson also in the mix for me there. But then Avdia, McDaniels, Cam Johnson, a lot of the guys small forward / power forward today.
Yep. And
Anything
then,
different for you?
Yeah, John Collins, number 1 for me at power forward, followed by Avdia and Anderson.
Center for me, Rudy Gobert and Nikola Jokic.
And John Collins, Rudy Gobert. Yeah, I didn't get to any Jokic, which I want to get to some Jokic, so that's something that I'm obviously going to be changing. But just based on our projections, 20% randomness, this is what I got.
Yeah, I think is Jokic my favorite pay up on DK? He is the pay up I got the most exposure to. Now, I don't have, that means I have him in 30% of my lineups. It's not like I have a massive amount of exposure to him. But still, with that in mind, I do think that he is the highest priority pay up option. But there isn't enough value to comfortably be able to pay up for a lot of guys. But Jokic still somebody that I'm getting to in my lineups.
All right, same Hawks lineup as expected. Same Blazers lineup that we expected.
For the Hawks,
Sixers.
just to read it off: Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, DeAndre Hunter, John Collins, Clint Capella. Portland Trailblazers, Damian Lillard, Anthony Simons, Matisse Thybulle, Jeremy Grant, and Yusuf Nurkic. So people were wondering who Simons might be starting in place of. Thybulle stuck in the starting lineup, which makes sense. You don't need that many high usage guys alongside Damian Lillard and Anthony Simons there. Let's see, what else do we have here in terms of super chats? Daniel Buffington, prize picks question each for Greg and Neil. Who are the top 2 fantasy score to go over? Thanks, fellas, and good luck tonight. So let me pull up prize picks. By the way, also, I did an MMA content piece earlier, and I had a couple of prize picks plays in there as well for tomorrow's UFC card. And let's look at the fantasy scores over on the Double P prize picks. Fantasy points. What looks good here? By the way, something that's funny. They have, I can't remember seeing this before. I don't know if this is a typo. The over-under for fantasy points on Damian Lillard, they have it 47.8 today.
Interesting. Yeah, I'd take the over on that.
I would as well, but I just thought it was funny. Like, why is it 47.8, not 47.5? I just can't
Well,
remember.
it's fantasy
seeing
points, so it could be like, rebounds and assists. You don't get even numbers.
But
right?
I've never seen that as an over-under before.
Oh, okay.
47.8. So, I mean, it doesn't make a difference. Really, we see that all the time with, sports books. Somebody puts the over-under for somebody's points at 22.5. Why not be 22.8? Why not be 22.4? For all intents and purposes, it's the same thing.
But when you're talking about fantasy points, it does make a difference because it's rebounds and assists are not full points.
Makes you think, though. Conspiracy.
Does make you think.
Conspiracy, perhaps.
Why do they never do 41.69? Be funny about it.
Why not? Why not make them fractions?
Good question.
Why not be 47 and 8/10? But anyway,
Right,
I like the over there for Damian Lillard. And then another over I like quite a bit. Rudy Gobert over 34.5 points, especially in the prize pick scoring where it's giving you extra points for the defensive stats. I think Rudy Gobert is being a little bit undervalued at 34.5. I know that he totally sucked the other day against Joel Embiid, but I am expecting a bounce back for Rudy Gobert. So over 34.5 for Gobert. I hope that helps you build out your prize picks card there, Daniel Buffington. Next super chat is from Massey Nazir. Instead of losing it on FanDuel today, I'm donating one of my entries to you guys. Hey, look at that. $7 Canadian. We appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for wisely choosing where you donate your money to. We very much appreciate you, Massey. Avi Schreier, I'm rolling on FanDuel with. He said with twice. That was why I said with twice. Just reading it as it's
okay.
written.
Yeah.
Rubio, Jokic, Thibault for revenge, Cam Johnson, McDaniels, a lot of slow-mo, any easy pivots or players I should be considering. On FanDuel, I would only play Ricky Rubio if Darius Garland is out. If Garland ends up playing, it is tough for me to play Ricky Rubio at $4,600 on FanDuel.
Yeah, I mean, you need to get a fantasy point per minute, essentially. He plays. Do you think he's going to play around 23 minutes if he, regardless, like even if Garland plays? Isn't that what Rubio played the last time out? So almost playable, but yeah, it's a long shot.
Yeah, and even then, though, I still wouldn't expect him to play that many minutes. If you look at, and the other thing too is like this is, I wouldn't call it a rivalry game, but Miami's a decent team, so I don't see Cleveland use their bench quite as much. Rubio's minutes, it's not like they're exactly consistent. So
right. I'm looking at this game log right now, and I'm like, yeah, we can't count on 23 by any means. That's like a cap.
The game before that, he played 19, but also
a competitive game.
Yeah, he got blowout run. The game before that, also 7. So I think we saw a ceiling for Ricky Rubio minutes last game. I would not expect anything like that again unless Garland is out. So just something to consider. So for Avi, the other things, there's nothing else I would really say other than don't play Ricky Rubio unless Garland is ruled out. Sean Sullivan, Pirtle or Russell, last man in on DK. Jakob Pirtle or Russell? Let's see. What do I got here? Sort by projection. And it was Russ. Just to read it again, it was Russell or Pirtle.
Yep.
It's crazy. Pirtle was playing insane minutes when he first came to Toronto, and then that kind of dissipated there. Russell coming. So with Russell coming back from injury, that's pretty clearly Jakob Pirtle for me.
Yeah, Jakob Pirtle projects much better than D'Angelo Russell. And it seems unlikely that D'Angelo Russell, he could come back and play full minutes right away. But we like Pirtle better anyway, so just go with that.
Pirtle for sure. No second guessing that. He's the guy that I want to get to. And just double checking the Discord here. Do we still have no questions in here, or is it just the notifications that aren't working properly? Here we go. Now we've got the questions coming in. First, this one is from Gang Green. What do I think of Bridges? I like Bridges today, and I do wonder if people are going to be really skittish about playing him just because of what happened yesterday. But we've got Mikal Bridges projected for 8% ownership over on DraftKings. On FanDuel, he's projected for 9,000 for Bridges on FanDuel is a steep price to play. For DraftKings purposes, $8,200. I think he's viable, though. And I think he's going to be extremely low owned because of all the nonsense from yesterday.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. I think he's a very, very interesting play on DraftKings in particular.
Richie07G, did you use a coupon when he bought that shirt out of the Walmart clearance section or no? Richie, I paid a premium. They didn't make coupons for this. Like, what are they going to do? They're going to give me 3% off, so I save $5,000. Like,
right.
Come on. Like, high-end stores don't give you those kind of discounts, coupons. Like, they don't send that in the mail for this.
Richie is talking down to you because Richie makes like $25,000 a night in DFS. So he buys the nicest things, and anything that isn't, $1 million to buy, he calls it Walmart bargain bin.
I heard the rumors that Richie G wears Lilo and Stitch flannels.
Probably.
I've
like
heard.
The millionaires who don't dress up. That might be more accurate.
I've heard, all paid by the head kick, Leon Edwards on Kamaru Usman.
That's right.
Mean dude. Neil has a great beard to match his flannel, and Eric is a piece of shit.
I think that's my favorite super chat yet. Thank you.
I'm screenshotting this on my phone. I'm sending that to Eric.
I mean, Eric is here.
Is Eric here?
That's my favorite thing. Eric has been tilting at people in chat. Josh was during the deeper dive, just like everybody. I guess the hosts and analysts, when they're not on the show, are just like, all right, I'm gonna go give chat hell. Like they've been like waiting to really give chat their full attention. I
don't know if is Eric in the chat right now though.
He was 10 minutes ago. I don't know if he is right now.
Yeah, no. It's very important that he heard that question be asked. Gang Green, if you're playing one guy from the first game, who is it? So we're talking about there's two games at the start of the slate. We have the Portland Philly game and Atlanta Washington. So of those two games, who do I have the most exposure to? I'm pretty sure it's Avdia. It is for me. Yeah, it's Avdia. And I know I'm pretty sure we had a super chat, somebody asking us about Avdia. It is James Magruder. Why do y'all like Avdia so much? The reason is because he's cheap, he plays decent minutes, and the value is absolute shit today. Like that's why. There's just not that many cheap guys that are worth getting to today, and Avdia is relatively reasonable from a points per dollar standpoint. I'm pretty sure you said you were getting to Avdia in your build as well, weren't you?
So again, those aren't my actual builds. Those are just like to see what comes up using the optimizer. So I'm hoping to get away from some Avdia as I get to more Levert. But I just ran one with having 100% Levert. I'm still getting to 33% Avdia, which I don't love. Like I wouldn't say I love Avdia. It's just there's such little value on this slate that he is popping up as one of the better point per dollar plays.
Gang Green wants us to pour out some of Eric's tears for our homies. I'll pour it right into my mouth.
I just drink when Greg drinks.
I considered dumping it on my head, and then I realized that would be a terrible way to spend the next 45 minutes. I considered it, though. Would
have been funny.
Would have been. Sometimes for the bit, though, things aren't worth it. Typically, I say everything is worth it for the bit. That one crossed my mind, and I was like, I've got second thoughts about it.
Especially with that nice shirt on. You don't want to get that shirt wet.
No. I mean, I don't care, right? I've got millions and millions of dollars. I would just buy another one of these for like $50,000. But yeah, I just don't want to be cold, right?
That makes sense.
Who wants to sit on a stream for 45 minutes with hard nipples? Not me. We got T. Lee asked us position by position on DK. We did do that a little bit before. We could go back to it though as we get close. Nothing's changed for me as of now because nothing's changed with Darius Garland, so I have the exact same players. Sniffs. If Garland is out, is Rubio necessary since there's no value on this slate? I think it'd be a really strong option on DraftKings. And the other thing that would happen if Garland is ruled out, I would end up getting to a lot more of Jokic with the additional value opening up.
For sure. Yeah, that would help.
Tall Tale, is Royce O'Neal worth getting over the field on for DK GPP? I'm scared from yesterday's rotation. I'm not really getting too much of Royce O'Neal.
Damn, I have 33%. I don't love it. He's the kind of guy that, I don't want to play a lot of Royce O'Neal. Just not a great fantasy producer. He is just 3,800, and he played 33 minutes in the last game. That must have been a blowout. Yeah, that was a blowout. No, he's played. His minutes have been all over the place, which is not the worst thing in the world. He's playable, definitely playable, but hard to really prioritize Royce O'Neal.
Part of the issue too, though, is the Nets actually have a full healthy squad, which they don't have very often. So I think that's going to, I don't think he's going to play a ton today.
Yeah.
We'll see. I could be wrong. These are the forwards that are ahead of him in the rotation. There's Bridges, who plays big minutes. There's Cam Johnson, who plays big minutes now. Finney-Smith, who plays relatively big minutes. There's just only so much playing time for a guy like Royce O'Neal left. So I have him playing like mid to low 20s minutes. I didn't really end up getting to him here.
I'm looking through the 4 games that have happened in March, and it was 24 on the first and 34, 19, 33. So I guess we have had, who have we had out? Obviously yesterday we had everybody out. He was actually out. He was held out the last game also.
So the game before that was also a blowout where he played garbage time. The Nets won that game by like 25 points against the Rockets. And then we had the game against the Boston Celtics where he played 34 minutes, and the team was healthy for that game though.
Okay. I think there's enough bad chalk on this slate, or enough bad value, that I think he's kind of in the mix as like another bad value play. And who could spike an upside.
Some more super chats coming in. This one is from CMOS, Rubio or Melton. For now, I'd prefer to play Rubio. Also, is this a FanDuel or a DraftKings question? Because this can't be. Because Melton is 49. There's a 1,600 salary difference between them on DraftKings. On FanDuel, Melton is all right, so this has to be a FanDuel question. The answer is Melton over Ricky Rubio. For DraftKings purposes, if Garland's out, the answer is Rubio because he's so much cheaper, and I think there's more utility in his price point. But assuming this is a FanDuel question because they have the same salary, I'm going to say that you should be going to Melton over on FanDuel. The next question we have here is from CJB33. Playing on Yahoo and Troy Brown is $11. Do you like him at that price, or will Russell returning impact him? Well, let's see.
Russell returning will definitely impact him.
Yeah, we have Troy Brown projected for how many fantasy
18
points?
Fantasy points on DraftKings.
Yeah, and 17 on FanDuel. Yeah, $11 price tag on Yahoo isn't unplayable because it's such a cheap price. I would look elsewhere though. Like if you're in a pinch and that's all you have available to you, he's okay at $11, but ideally I'd be playing other guys there. Next question is from James Magruder again, Avdia or Bruce Brown. That is Avdia for me.
Yeah, I think me too.
And here we've got Supak, OOP, Rudy Gobert, Jakob Poeltl on FanDuel. I prefer Rudy Gobert.
What are the prices there? What's the ownership there?
I was just looking at my lineups and who had more exposure.
Oh, gotcha.
Gobert is $7,900 with 5% expected ownership. Poeltl is $7,400 with 10%, but also he's $500 less expensive. If you have the money to go up to Gobert projects better. I think that's the way to go.
Yep.
Yes, I'm pretty sure we just read off the rest of them. I'm just scrolling through and double checking, but I'm pretty sure we got them here. We're all good. The next question here in Discord is coming from Hippo. Hippo wants to know, is Morrison play on DK now that he's back starting? Still a no for me.
I think he's in play. We have such bad value. I mean, we have Morris projected for nearly 23 fantasy points at 4,600 on DraftKings. I think that's given how bad the value is.
Fair enough. I'll reword this. He's not a priority. If you have a lineup with him, it's fine though.
Yep. I think that's accurate.
I don't have lineups with him. I'm not playing him, but if somebody had him, I wouldn't say you have to take this guy to your lineup.
Yeah.
The next question we have from Mr. Sledge to you. Favorite contrarian play for the DK single entry night slate only. I'm going to circle back to this until after lock. We have some other questions in here. And this one we don't have to hit right at the moment because it's for the night slate, but I'll circle back on this, Mr. Sledge to you. Bookmarked. Favorite contrarian play, DK. We'll answer that afterwards. Gangrene, 4,200 Collins. Tell me why not. I like John Collins. I think you should be playing him.
Yeah, I think so too.
I can't tell you not to. I think you should play him.
I'd say that was the one thing that went well for me the last time you and I did a show together, was playing a lot of John Collins and Bogdanovich instead of the fucking Thunder value guys. Worked out pretty well that night, but the rest of the slate did not go so well.
James Magruder, $4,800 or less on DK, but it cannot be Denny Avdia. Well, James Magruder must hate Denny Avdia today. He's asked like 3 questions about Denny Avdia. One was a 1v1 with Denny Avdia and somebody else. We answered Avdia. Now he wants a different player, not Avdia. And then before he wants to know why we liked Avdia. So, all right, he's trying to get off of Avdia here. He's got $4,800 to spend on DK. Cannot be Denny. Who would I go with if it's not Denny? Let's see. 4,800 or less.
You said what position?
That is Jaden McDaniels for me. Didn't give a position, just said 4,800 or less. It's Jaden McDaniels for myself. If I had to give a different answer, if you already have him, but this is how shitty the value is today. The next one for me is Victor Oladipo, who I also don't really like, but McDaniels I do like.
Yeah, I mean, the only other answer I would consider is Karis LeVert. I mean, I shouldn't say the only other, but like, if you think that if Darius Garland gets ruled out, then obviously LeVert becomes the better play there.
Very high priority. Very, very high priority in Karis LeVert. But as of now,
right, we don't have
a good
that.
shout out too, though. As of now, I would say that you should be going with McDaniels, but once again, Karis LeVert ends up starting, play him as much as humanly possible. All right, we caught up on these. We are. So really quick, let's just run through, remind the people who ended up getting. Are your lineups set, Neil? If they're not, then I'll let you upload your lineups.
I did not notice the time. I have submitted my latest run of lineups. I'll probably just go with what I have. It's fine.
All right, there's one way to do it. Neil, did you build your
No.
lineups? Who the fuck knows? Not me. Like Jordan, did I build my lineups? Tell me.
So I did make some adjustments to get to different players. So I did make adjustments to my lineups. But I just had not given like a final look at like, how do I feel about this? And I do have 67% Ricky Rubio. So I'm going to adjust one more time, actually. I mean, obviously I can do that before.
Yeah. And I don't want to, you go update your lineups. I didn't realize you were in such a crunch here. I'll take it over here for the next. I'm always good for 90 seconds.
I'm good. We can chat. I just wanted to make sure I had a little bit less Ricky Rubio than I was getting. I want to have, less than 50%, but I'm good to go.
All right. So let's finish up with this then. As you're uploading your lineups, just looking at the state of everything you have now, who is the player you're going to be banking on the most today? Who is the player that is most important to your builds?
I mean, so it's Karis LeVert, but that obviously is going to change if he is ruled, or if he is not the starter. So then it's John Collins. I actually have 62% John Collins right now, which I don't love it, but I don't hate it enough to change it right now. I don't love it just because he is so volatile and the field is getting there. So I feel like the better ownership play is probably to get underway to the field. But I also, there's some chance that he plays 28 minutes and just crushes the slate. So I don't mind it.
I have an uncomfortable amount of Reggie Jackson. So I really hope that Garland gets ruled out. I have 40% Reggie Jackson now. I don't want to have that. But I don't know who else to play for cheap. I want to pay up for Jokic. So I got on him. Who do you not have exposure to that you are afraid of breaking the slate?
Oh, good question. Let me check. I'm going to sort by ownership. All right. The top player in terms of ownership who I have 0 shares of is, so Day'Ron Sharpe. I don't think that he's actually going to be 17% owned. I think that's maybe an error in our system. I hate this. So I have so much John Collins and I have 0 Bogdanovich. I think that that's an error. I think that they're sort of similar plays. If they get the minutes, they're going to be great. If they, in part because they're getting the minutes because they're playing well. So most likely they're both players that they'll probably get additional minutes if they are playing well. I think they're very similar plays. And I have 0 Bogdanovich and a ton of John Collins. So I hate that, but it's got to be Bogdanovich. I have 0 shares. We're projecting him. Well, I guess we have his actual ownership now, so we can actually check.
Yeah, we could pull that up. We are now at lock. So if you guys haven't done it yet, like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I know some of you guys are going to leave, but you shouldn't. And yeah, sorry, Jordan. We're buffering.
We are buffering.
You know, I don't know if you've noticed that this has happened, Jordan, but as soon as I got my camera issues and all of that fixed, your internet crapped out like almost the next day. Huh. Can they?
So
still,
are we? Can they hear us right now?
Yes.
Can you guys hear us? Okay.
What people don't realize is I'm naked, and that went well. So we are back just in time to talk about our sponsor, No House Advantage, NHA. So if you guys haven't signed up there, use the link below, because when you do sign up over at NHA, you're going to get up to $100 bonus on your first deposit. And we've got all the tools you need over at Stokastic to build some really profitable player prop cards over on NHA. In fact, we've got our NBA Bet Pro tool. We also have our NBA Pick'em tool. You guys get access to either of these super cheap. Our NBA Pick'em tool, it's a newer tool. It has NHA in it. It has Prize Picks. It has Underdog. But also NBA Bet Pro. If you guys are wagering on sports and using multiple different platforms, NBA Bet Pro, we have a 7-day free trial you could sign up for using the link below. And you get access to all the projections that we have for NBA. And we are going to look at some of those right now to build out NHA cards. I'm going to refresh our projections to make sure that nothing has changed in the last couple of minutes. And one thing that I want to look at, by the way, Jordan, are you going to be good to screen share here, or is that going to make us die? Okay. Oh, look at that. He didn't even answer. He just shared the screen there. I don't know if you thought what I was thinking. I thought Jordan was frozen.
He's going to just, yeah. Oh, for sure.
So can you click on the Cleveland players, Jordan? I'm just curious to see what's up there and what we could potentially prepare for if Darius Garland is ruled out. We've got Mitchell points at, what was that number? I'm going to look it up on my computer because the eyesight is not helping me here. 27.5. Is that right? 27.5?
For Donovan Mitchell.
For Mitchell. Let's look at what are his numbers this year. Oh, 28.5. Okay. What are the numbers for him this year with Garland off the court? And by the way, with that number moving, it seems like people are betting the over, anticipating at least that Garland is not going to play. In case you're wondering.
Yeah.
Garland off the court. I also want to scroll Twitter to make sure there's no rumors about stuff in terms of what is happening with Garland. I just want to see if there's any videos of him warming up or anything. Sometimes that could be telling. Garland, search that. By the way, numbers this year. With Darius Garland off the court, Donovan Mitchell, 35.7% usage, nearly 50 fantasy points per 36 minutes. In terms of his actual scoring, that amounts to 31.22 points per 36 minutes. Here's what I think we do here, Neil. Yep. If Darius Garland plays, we like the over on Donovan Mitchell. If Darius Garland, let me reword that because I'm not sure I said it right. If Garland sits, we like the over on Donovan Mitchell. If Garland plays, I like the under on Mitchell here. That's a big number for Mitchell in a tough matchup if Garland ends up being in.
So I tried to go into my NHA app and realized that I need to update it. But so we had in our projections 27.5 line for Donovan Mitchell, 28.5 is even, and then we had a positive ROI there. 28.5, the ROI is going to go up even more. So I hope, well, for the purpose of the bet, I guess I would hope that Darius Garland is in and that under is going to look pretty hot. But I think we kind of maybe wait until we get the news there.
Yeah, I mean, we'll wait for the news. It's more of a thing just like preparing people for if that news was to break, what I think they should be. What I think.
Darius Garland ruled out.
Darius Garland's out. All right, right now, under on the over on Donovan Mitchell. We're over Jordan. So we would take the over on Donovan Mitchell. Caris LeVert. Are there any lines for Caris LeVert? Caris LeVert ruled the starter. There we go.
Love it.
No, nothing there. But either way, there's actionable news here. Caris LeVert is going to be starting. But for purposes of NHL, are there any, what are the other Cleveland player props there?
Let's see. Don't think it affects Evan Mobley rebounds.
Not the rebounds, but is there a points prop for Mobley?
Let's see.
16.5. I like the over on that as well. I think that makes sense. If we look at, once again, the on-off court numbers for Cleveland this year, Mobley, it hasn't been like a massive usage increase for him this year, but still somebody I think we should be considering there in the absence of Darius Garland. So we'll put those two in for now. But I want to go back to our DFS lineups for a second, because we have to react to this news now.
Yeah.
This is going to change our lineups by a massive, massive amount, because this slate that had absolute shit for value, we had nothing good to look at. We got value now. There's no Darius Garland. We talked about what was going to happen. We said we were going to love Caris LeVert, assuming he started if Garland doesn't play. Donovan Mitchell looks better. When you're uploading your lineup, or updating your lineups now, I should say, how much LeVert are you going to play?
100%. I'm locking him in. So I already made the assumption that LeVert was going to be the starter, and I have him locked into my lineups as is. Yeah, I think that LeVert is a fantastic play now, just because there's so little value on this slate. Hopefully he comes in. I mean, he's probably not going to come in at super low ownership, and my guess is that he still gets a good amount of ownership, but probably less than it would be if the news had come out half an hour ago. I think that he's going to be the best value on the entire slate now.
One thing that's pretty cool about this is that there is no game starting for 52 minutes. So I don't even have to update my lineups like at this second. I could sit on it for a second. I could wait for for everything to update and for everything to come in for us. I'm kind of curious to see where we end up projecting Ricky Rubio's minutes. I know I'm going to want to get to him. I'm not sure how much I want to get to him. I know I'm going to play him a good amount.
Yep.
Caris LeVert's the priority here. I'm going to like Donovan Mitchell a little bit more as a pay-up option to be sure. But Ricky Rubio, how are you going to handle him in large field tournaments? He goes from not a consideration to definitely a good consideration. I'm going to like him more than, say, like Reggie Jackson, who I had exposure to before. But how high of a priority is Ricky Rubio going to be now as you late swap?
I mean, so he was already on DraftKings making it into some lineups at 3,300. He was, I mean, I guess we had him projected for 7% ownership. Maybe I wasn't getting to any before. For some reason, I thought that I had been getting some. I have him in 19% of lineups currently because I had given him the boost, assuming that Garland will be out. I am going to wait and see what our actual projections say. That's one thing. I don't do my own projections, so I take a wait and see approach to see and sometimes I will still adjust after the fact, but typically when I get late breaking news, I often go just with what our projections do, knowing that the field tends to underreact. So I kind of want to see what our projections give to Ricky Rubio at this point.
Good news. Updated 18 seconds ago. I didn't see who's manning projections tonight, but they've been on top of it. Super quick update. Great job by the data team. All the more reason you guys should be signed up over here. Like, look, we get the guys ruled out. Projections updated fairly quick. Oh, by the way, false alarm by me. This was a different update. We don't have.
Okay. I was going to say I don't see it.
I saw the update 18 seconds ago, but not for Garland. It'll be updated shortly. Boy, don't I look like an idiot now? I mean, I know I typically.
You gave those guys way too much credit.
Yeah, I'm wearing a Lilo and Stitch shirt, and I'm telling other, and it's like, oh, don't I look like? Yes, I look like an idiot. Let me just make sure there weren't any more super chats that came in while we were looking at all of this news. We do.
Okay, they did just change the projection. So I can tell you, Rubio's projection changed from 14.5 to 22 fantasy points, which makes him a very strong value. Caris LeVert changed from 19 to 24.5 fantasy points. And then Donovan Mitchell actually got a bigger bump than I probably gave credit for. So he was at 39.6, bumped up to 43.8 fantasy points. So all three of those guys, pretty significant bumps.
And I actually think LeVert could use for even more fantasy points than that.
Yep.
Like I think LeVert. What are LeVert? Well, let me look up LeVert's numbers as a starter. I know the matchup isn't ideal. Clearly not an ideal matchup. LeVert as a starter this year, though, 26 starts, 34.5 minutes per game, over 30 fantasy points as his average in those starts. I'm going to be a little bit higher on LeVert than that. He's my favorite play on the slate. And like I said, Ricky Rubio goes from somebody who is not a consideration to a good punt play on a slate where we are just sorely lacking in value.
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to get a ton of Ricky Rubio now just because the value was so bad. I think that I'm actually going to get a significant amount of Ricky Rubio if I do just leave it at our exact projection.
Yeah, let's see. All right. Update these lineups.
Actually, so funny enough, I now have, after I updated for our projections, I now have 100% Ricky Rubio, 90% Karis LeVert. It actually cut back my LeVert slightly.
And then, well, I guess that would make sense because because I have the same thing as you, by the way, today, where this is where I don't have more than 3 players from any one team.
Yeah.
So it would make sense, right? If there's other players from the Cavaliers you're trying to get to, it's going to lower your LeVert when you're getting to more Rubio. Donovan Mitchell, did he pop up meaningfully for you at all?
So yeah, I got up to actually 19%. That's more than I anticipated because we're projecting him for just under 44 at 9,000. So still not like an incredible point per dollar value, but enough to get into some lineups. And I'm not mad about it because I think Donovan Mitchell will go under owned. Like people probably won't give him enough of a bump with this news.
I'll update my lineups, see what I end up getting right now. All right. Swaptimize. Come on. No more Reggie Jackson, please. No more of that clown. No more. So I do have more of LeVert than Rubio. I have 100% LeVert. So I don't have quite as much Rubio as you, but he is in more than half of my lineups. As I thought before, this drastically changed the amount of Jokic I was getting. I went from 30% Jokic to 70% from this news.
Oh, wow. I'm still only at 14% Jokic. I guess partially because I probably have John Collins in some center spots. I've got Embiid locked into some center spots, Porzingis. So maybe that kind of limits it to some extent. But I am surprised that I'm not getting more Jokic with the added value.
Who else?
Maybe I'll try and change that.
I had a bunch of. So here's who I had exposure to before that's changed. So I have a lot less Reggie Jackson now. I'm totally cool with that. I was hoping this news would come so I didn't have to play 40% Reggie Jackson. Jamal Murray, I have a few less lineups with him. This is going to be a little upsetting for you. I have less exposure to Anthony Edwards now with Karis LeVert being viable there at the shooting guard spot. My Cam Johnson exposure came down a little bit. The ones that changed the most, though, obviously, is Rubio and LeVert. Got a lot more of them, and then also just getting to a lot more of Jokic with there being more news available. So export these lineups. I'm pretty happy with them. I'm going to upload them right back into DraftKings. How about for you? What was the opportunity cost? Who's the player that came down in exposure for you? Or because you said that you're getting to 100% Rubio now. Maybe you don't even remember, but who
so that is
Rubio in lieu of.
Let me see. Actually, I can go back and look. This must have been. So I was getting 38% Van Vliet, 34% Murray, Jamal Murray. Neither of those games have locked. So what do I have now? Let's see. Now I have 29% Van Vliet and 14% Jamal Murray. So I guess those are the biggest droppers for me.
Yeah, like I said, a little bit less Jamal Murray for me. Reggie, I'm so happy. Was Reggie Jackson somebody you were getting to before, and are you getting to him now?
So I do still have 14% Reggie Jackson, which I still don't love that. Actually, he didn't change at all. I was at 14% before. I'm at 14% now. Yeah, not real happy with a ton of Reggie Jackson, but he's a guy who can score fantasy points in bunches if he gets a little bit of extended run. It wouldn't be that shocking to see Denver blow out the Spurs here. So I don't hate 14%. That seems about right.
Yeah, 14% is not an egregious number or anything like that. The one I had before I was not happy with, but I couldn't find other cheap guys I wanted to get to instead. So
I lost some Nikhil. I'm down to just I think one share of Nikhil Alexander Walker too. I was at 19% previously.
Yeah,
I do think so. I'm actually going to adjust. I don't think I want 100% Rubio. I think that it's kind of there's some volatility there.
There is. Let me.
Somebody in chat was also asking about Isaac Okoro, how his projection changed. We actually, it appears we didn't change Isaac Okoro's projection at all. So we our projections are not making any changes for Okoro with Garland being out.
Yeah, I don't think it's a significant impact to Isaac Okoro. The other thing too is just because of when this news has come out, like Rubio and LeVert are definitely going to be popular, not nearly as popular as they were going to be. And I don't anticipate Rubio being all that popular in general relative to, other plays on the slate.
Yeah, I agree.
We have a super chat here from Noah Levinson, another $2 donation to the Stokastic servers, $2 to make Jordan's internet better. Thank you, Noah. We are now a handful of super chats away from Jordan having functional internet. How much do you pay for your internet, Jordan Klein? He doesn't know. He steals it from his neighbor. That's been the issue the whole time.
Yeah. Neighbor moved out. So now he's like moved on to a new neighbor's internet. It's not working well.
What do I do? The downstairs neighbor is, you know that one of Jordan's neighbors is Chet Hanks.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Isn't he like he had some scandal, right?
Jordan,
I thought he
or
had
Chet
some.
Hanks?
Well, both. Maybe together. I don't remember the actual details of it.
Chet Hanks. What is the Chet Hanks?
Is he the one who's like a? I mean, I don't want to make accusations here. This is allegedly like a major cokehead. Like, it's kind of nuts.
Very, very possible. Let's see. Chet Hanks, ex-girlfriend Susan for $1 million alleging abuse.
Okay.
But imagine if Jordan was walking through the hallway and sees a drunk Chet Hanks coming back late at night, and then Jordan becomes a witness. He has to testify on the stand. He has to stand up there all high and like, dude, bro, chill. We're all friends here. It's not a big deal. Like, yeah, she was here, but he's a good guy, and I like his tattoos, bro. It would go well. I would like to see Jordan as a witness on the stand.
I would enjoy that. I just had to make the differentiation between Chet Hanks, who doesn't seem anything like you would expect from Tom Hanks' son, and Colin Hanks, who like is the spitting image of Tom Hanks and like acts and it's kind of similar to him.
And we have some results. Let's check in on some of the results from the early game, and then we'll get back to building out our NHA parlay. By the way, oh my God, the Portland Trailblazers are up 18-6 on the Philadelphia 76ers. And no like big starts for Portland. It's just kind of everybody putting it on the 76ers. And obviously they have 6 points halfway through the first quarter, Philly. So no real big games for them. From the Atlanta Hawks, we have nobody really doing anything. From the Wizards side of the game, Monty Morris, 4 points, 2 assists, and a steal halfway through the first quarter. At least to this point, though, fantasy production is pretty muted in the first couple of games of the slate. So it makes me happy that I've got a lot of that Cleveland right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought there was a super chat there, but there is not. Jordan, if you wouldn't mind, let's go back to NHA. I want to find some more props. I'm happy that we were able to identify some of the Cleveland stuff there, but let me refresh our projections now and just see what else it is that's popped up. Giving it a refresh. And what projects well for us once my computer is done updating. Just incredibly slow for me today. Not as bad as Jordan, but definitely things running a little bit slower on my end. So
you want me to refresh and do my look over the projections?
Yeah. So I'm good. You could refresh as well. I'm here. So one thing that looks pretty good for us here, Cam Johnson over 2.5 threes. We've talked about him a few times over the course of the show. I really do like the role that he's playing with the Nets. I think his minutes should be fairly secure. And Cam Johnson, he's not going to get the same open looks with the Nets as he got with the Suns because he's playing with lesser talent. But there's still a lot of opportunity for him to soak up more usage in this role than what he played with the Phoenix Suns. So Cam Johnson, we've seen some big shooting nights, some bigger scoring nights for him. I like him for over 2.5 threes.
Yeah, no, I like that quite a bit. Playing against the Timberwolves, fast-paced team, not great defense. Yeah, it looks great.
Oh my, are you saying bad things about your Timberwolves?
I'm a realist, Greg. I think that they are an amazing team that doesn't play great defense or that great of offense either.
Over the last 2 weeks, Cam Johnson is averaging just under 3 threes per game, by the way. What looks good as you're looking through our projections? What stands out?
Yeah, so I like that Cam Johnson. We've got a lot of, kind of tight ones here. Let's see, who do I really like here? Nick Claxton over 10.5 points looks pretty good. Again, playing against that Minnesota defense. I know we've got Gobert, but doesn't necessarily mean that he's stopping the other team's big. So 10.5 points for Nick Claxton seems a little bit low. We've got him projected for 12.7. So take advantage of that one. And I'm expecting Claxton. I'm expecting all of the, as I said, the regular rotation is, kind of what I'm expecting. I think that's what most of us are expecting here. So could go to that one also.
By the way, another one, a lot of our top projected plays for today are on the Nets. We've got, so of our top projected NHA props, We've got Mikal Bridges over assists. So that's one that we haven't talked about, but that's actually our top one right now. Cam Johnson over 2.5 threes. And then we've got Spencer Dinwiddie under 2.5 points. And then also there's some props that we like from the Minnesota side of the game. Kyle Anderson under 11.5 points projects well. Naz Reid over 10.5 points. Do we just go out and build like a same game parlay here, basically, where just all the different players in this game that project well and see what happens?
Yeah, we can do that.
Get up to 21x. Not going to find those numbers anywhere else with a 5-leg parlay. Let's put them all in here.
Did you throw Naz Reid in there?
Oh, sorry, what's that?
Just asking if you threw Naz Reid in there yet.
We're going to.
Okay. Yeah,
well, actually, are we one? Yeah, we will. So let's put all of them in. The 5 that project best for us here. Mikal Bridges over 3.5 assists, Jordan. Let's go to Spencer Dinwiddie under 20.5 points. Or did we already put that in? I forget which ones we put in. We've got okay. And then let's go with do we want to go Kyle Anderson under 11.5 points or Naz Reid over 10.5 points?
Got to go with the over. Come on. Go with Naz Reid over.
Going the Naz. Let me check with what I've got here. Do I want Naz Reid? I'm going to lean towards Kyle Anderson.
Greg, you can't let me have this one, taking the over on the Timberwolves.
Nope. We're taking the under on Kyle Anderson. Slow-mo. 21x on the parlay. 21x, and it's all from the same game. Pretty fun stuff. You're not going to find 21x anywhere else on a 5-leg parlay. Not on any of these pick'em sites. If you guys want to go play this on NHA, sign up using the link we have below. You're going to get your first prop play here, kind of for free, depending what you put on it, because this right here, you get up to a $100 bonus on your first deposit when you sign up using the promo code Greg. Take advantage of this.
Whoa.
Play this prop parlay, and if it ends up winning, look at that. 20
Greg Oss, right?
No, that's
different site. Okay, yeah, my bad.
All good though. Promo code Greg. By the way, Al's in chat. Jordan, he wants you to know that Chet Hanks knows what his dad was up to. Could be. Isn't Tom Hanks is dead according to Tommy G and other people on the internet. Yeah,
Tom Hanks hasn't actually done anything. I think he turned into a lizard and then maybe the lizard was killed and now they have to CGI in Tom Hanks in movies. Is my understanding.
During the bleak COVID times, I got into an argument with somebody in a Tommy G thread. He ended up betting me $1,000 that Tom Hanks was dead and it would be verified by the end of 2021. I'm trying to remember what year it would have been, 2021. What ended up happening was I believe it or not, I won the bet. Tom Hanks was not confirmed dead, but the guy deleted his Twitter account and I was never able to collect.
I'm shocked that you didn't get that money.
El Negro Loco, the News God says he's a 100% profit boost. Anything you would suggest tonight? Which site we're on? Which site? News God, tell me what site, and then I could help you. Wait for that to come in.
Paul C says Andy's turning the frogs gay. That's a good point. Yeah, Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
And eating children, as I recall.
That's actually more of an Eric thing because he had that gay guru stripping for frogs for a little bit of time. That was just an Eric thing.
That was very temporary, though.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, so News God is saying FanDuel. All right. Well, let me look in NBA Bet Pro and see what our top props are right now on FanDuel. We do have Mikal Bridges over 3.5 assists projecting pretty well. Do I like that? I do like that.
Oh, we did get a couple super chats.
So that's an option. I know, but we got to take care of our guy News God too. Over 3.5 assists is one that I like. Big boy. Jamal Murray and Cam Johnson or LeVert and Butler. LeVert's my favorite play on the slate right now. So LeVert and Butler.
Yeah, me too.
A little bit of correlation too, because they're in the same game. So I think that is one that we should definitely consider. So big boy, play the LeVert side of that. Let me double check these to make sure I didn't miss anything else.
We had somebody else calling Eric a dick.
Good.
He's not. I mean, he is, clearly.
Neil, please join us more often. Eric is, well, in fairness, he's not calling him a dick.
Oh, he's not.
No. That's it's just an emoji.
He's an eggplant.
Yeah. Eric is an eggplant. Totally fair. Neil, please join us more often. Eric is an eggplant. I don't mind calling Eric an eggplant.
Yeah, he's totally an eggplant.
All right. Did we get to all of these?
People in chat talking about the beer I'm drinking. The weird thing is I don't always drink stouts and dark beers. I like a variety of beers. I actually rarely will order a stout at a restaurant. And like somehow it feels like it fills me up more. Like I need a little sustenance during these shows. So it's like I get more calories, I feel like, out of a nice dark beer.
Yeah. You could be the next most interesting man in the world. I don't always drink beer, but when I do, I prefer stouts that I can't remember the name of. It would be a good commercial.
It would be. My beard's getting there. Not quite white enough yet, but it'll get there soon enough.
And let's go double check on the results from these early games. What's happening? The Portland Trailblazers are now up 31-16. They've hung up 31 points on the 76ers with 3.5 minutes left in the first quarter. Jeremy Grant has 11 points, 3 rebounds, and a steal. Not even that big of a start for Damian Lillard. And still all these points up on the board. Embiid is playing well, though. 9 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists for Joel Embiid. In the Hawks-Wizards game, we've got John Collins up to 3 points and an assist. Not a good start, but considering its price, it's not like it's totally catastrophic either. Listen to this. DeJounte Murray and Trae Young have combined for 2 points in the first quarter. 2 real-life points between the two of them.
That's wild.
Denny Avdia just checked in off the bench. 2 quick boards for him. I get behind that. I'm cool with that.
Jeremy Grant is crushing it.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. The big score. Portland putting up all those points and not on the back of Damian Lillard. Don't see that too often.
I have 0 shares of Jeremy Grant.
By the way, I don't think Eric is in the chat. I think people are adding Eric in the chat.
Yeah, earlier he was in the chat for sure. Like it was Eric with the wrench was in chat earlier, but doesn't appear to be currently.
Let me go double check Discord channel. This is Vince 1979 Gator at Ehrenberg Greg, your mom. Appreciate it. Richie 07G. Jordan doesn't pay anything from his internet. His mom won a lifetime membership to AOL dial-up in 1999. He's been riding it out until the wheels fall off. I think the wheels have fallen off. We've got Jets World asking rank Rubio, Jackson, and NAW on DK, please. That for me is Rubio 1, Reggie Jackson 2, Nickeil Alexander-Walker 3. How about for yourself?
Yep. Same order.
Dre every day. Would you get off Reggie Jackson and go Rubio for FanDuel GPPs? Yes, I prefer Rubio to Reggie Jackson. Vince 1979 Gator. Is Keldon Johnson a good play today? I don't think I don't have exposure to Keldon Johnson, do you?
I have 0.
Yeah, I didn't get to Keldon Johnson.
7% ownership seems fine. I think he's an okay play, but I didn't get any.
And then Gangrene says, I must up my game. Please do not answer questions from people with no Avi. That is all. And then also, by the way, a follow-up. This wasn't really a question. It was a comment from Sam Cassell-Dance. Greg answering no Avi questions is an unprecedented offense. I expect more from him. Well, Sam, what is I don't even know what this is in here.
Is that a thing in the Discord? I remember when I first joined the Awesemo Slack, I got a lot of shit for not having an avatar. So you can't talk in here until you have an avatar. I didn't know that was still a thing.
Yeah, we're fairly racist around here. We don't like to us, no avatar people. It's the equivalent of being a muggle. You're a muggle if you don't have an avatar.
Yeah.
All right, let's close with that. We've gotten to 7:30. The weekend's about to start. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I'm gonna be doing a bunch of content tomorrow, so go check that out. Like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Shout out to NHA for sponsoring the show today. Good luck tonight, guys. Have a great weekend. I will be here tomorrow. Have a good weekend.